World cricket certainly benefits from a strong Sri Lankan side. What can they produce here in this post-tea session? Lakmal is going to open the bowling outside the off stump. First up to Crawley, allows it to go through. I said to Michael during the tea interval, who opens the bowling for you, Michael? And he said Lakmal at one end, first over, and
left-arm spinner has to, surely.
Embledenia.
He had both this pair out twice for under 10 in the first test match, and he has to start again. I mean, understand Lakmal, there might be a bit of swing, bit of seam, experienced pro, 2 slips in a gully and a ringed field.
He moves in now, 2 slips in the gully in outside the off stump, hint of away movement, away swing from Crawley, who allows it to go by. To tie up some of the details of Sri Lanka's innings, so 381 all out, Anderson 6 for 40, Wood 3 for 84 and Curran 1 for 60, as Andy Zaltzman said, those who may just be switching on for the first time. First time at Galle that all 10 wickets have gone to pace. First time in Sri Lanka for 27 years. Wacker and Wasim doing it in 1994. England's spinners, 64 overs, 7 maidens, 0 for 195. And some reaction to that on social media. I guarantee that Sri Lanka spinners will take a lot more, says Jeremy Lawrence. Well, we'll see. Lakmal, fast medium, right arm over the wicket, gets wide of the crease, bowls to Crawley. Crawley goes forward, and you hear it clearly, RFX microphone, no run. To the call as the ball goes up to mid-on. Also, another little thing to note, 139.3 overs bowled, no byes. And that might be, of course, because the ball wasn't getting past the bat very much.
Yeah,
but still, that's a real bonus for Joss Buttler, who picked up one very good catch today to get rid of Mendes, diving away to his left. He was out for naught. Crawley's on naught. Lakmal goes into bowl to him outside the off stump. Fairly friendly delivery, really. 79 miles an hour, no great pace as well. And Lakmal coming back to top flight cricket. We're just checking to see the last time he played a first class match. And he's been playing for the Stallions in the Sri Lanka T20 competition. The last time he played a first class match was for Tamil Union against Moors in Moratuwa on the 16th of August. He took 1 wicket in the match, and then before that, earlier in August, he took 4 wickets against Sinhalese Sports Club, and then a 4 for in a game before that as well. That was way back in March though, so just 2 first class matches in the last 10 months. Well, he has been playing some T20. Lakmal moves in and bowls, an away swinger, gentle away swinger to Crawley, 81 miles an hour, and Crawley lets it go by outside the off stump. Actually, there's the sort of bowling that Crawley might have seen quite a bit of in county cricket. Swing 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, England have got 2 hours and 14 minutes of batting left today, so all they can do is create the foundation. Not going to get too many runs, maybe 80, 90. It's just about the wickets. They can't lose too many wickets today.
Lakmal bowls, Crawley gets the ball he has to play at this time on off stump. He plays defensively into the onside, so Lakmal starts with a gentle maiden, I would say there. No great threat. Crawley lined him up okay. England need 182 to avoid being asked to follow on. That's their, I suppose, first target. If that's their real target, then they're done probably in this game.
Yes.
I mean, with Murray in the attack, sometimes 182 to avoid the follow-on was a priority, or at least a goal.
Yeah, it's almost not even thought of these days, because Sri Lanka would certainly bat again, so I'm sure that would come into play. But you know, Sri Lanka have a great chance because the pitch will offer a little bit, won't be a great deal, but it's just pressure. England knowing that Sri Lanka have got a decent score. At 135 here is Embledenia, understandably a left-arm spinner to bowl to this pair. It's just a few things. I mean, England taking guard in the first test match in the first innings when Sri Lanka only got 135. It's so much easier. Now there's pressure on because you know they've got a decent score. Pressure on these two because they're facing the same ball that got them out.
Embledenia bowls to Siblitz wide of off stump. He might have probably missed out there, chance to get off the mark. It wasn't a great delivery from Embledenia. It was dragged down. turned a bit.
Well, that's what'll happen on Twitter now. You know, if this guy comes out and rips a couple, they'll be saying, you know, Jack Leach, Dominic Bess.
Embledenia bowls, full outside the off stump, wide of off stump. It does turn away, but it started wide, so Sibley was able to allow it to go through to wicketkeeper Dick Weller, who made 92 today. He played really well enough to get 100. He was excellent. He rather chucked it away. Embledenia bowls, wide of off stump again, no turn there. Sibley allows it to go. Embledenia, just to remind you, dismissed Sibley twice in the first test match. Second time, Sibley allowing the ball to hit his off stump. It's misreading one. Embledenia bowls to Sibley. Sibley's right forward, low, over it, in defence, playing it towards cover, and there is no run. He's batting with a sort of patch on his elbow where he must have taken the skin off while he was in the field. That's it. Embledenia bowls, another ball that turns away from the right-handed Sibley. Let's it go again. There is a bit more spin today, there's no doubt about that. There's enough for the spinners to work with. Embledenia went into bowl there, and Sibley pulled away. I think he said the short leg fielder was still talking.
I think a crow flew by.
Was it a crow? Yeah. Was it? He pointed something to his left-hand side. I just assumed it was the short leg fielder who was still talking. He goes down, Sibley goes back and forces that square with the wicket on the offside, straight to fielder, and there is no run. So we've had 2 overs, one from Lackmell, one from Embledenia, and England yet to score, but no real alarms in that over from Embledenia, but early days.
Yeah, no real spin. Nice consistent line and length, but nothing like what we saw in that first test match where the ball was spitting, it was spinning a long way from pretty much the first over that he bowled. It's just interesting with both this pair. I mean, Crawley I don't think's got a technical flaw against the spinner. I just thought he made a couple of poor decisions, played the wrong shots, whereas Sibley's technique's going to get questioned because of those hands going away, and he does like to favour that an onside. Just kind of sets himself up to hit it through the onside, even though it's a left-arm spinner spinning it away from him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with that.
Lackmell bowls to Crawley. Crawley goes after that one outside the off stump and misses it. Didn't look to be a great deal of value in that shot. There's Zach Crawley. But
that's a poor shot, Simon. New ball. I know you're nervous, you want to get off the mark, but that's a nothing shot. You've got 3 fielders in the ring on the offside, 2 slips in the gully. Pretty much you can only get out to that shot.
Yeah. Crawley settles. Lackmell's bowling it around about 80 miles an hour and trying to swing it away. That's what he's been doing so far anyway. To Zach Crawley, got 2 slips in the gully and they go down. And Lackmell bowls outside the off stump, trying his length back a touch there. And Crawley drags the bat inside the line after that previous indiscretion. He wasn't playing at that one. You had a question for Zoltz. One of them has been answered. You had 2 questions, Zoltz. One of them has been answered. The one about 10 wickets.
Yeah.
When was the last time that happened? There was another one as well, Mike, and I've forgotten what it was now. It was a good question. It was a good stats question. Perhaps not so good that you don't remember either, but anyway, it was about an hour ago. We said we'll get Zoltz on that.
I've been watching the snow since then.
Yeah. And it's settled as well behind us. Under that Coronation Street building, away to our right. Here's a Lackmell bowling. And Crawley in behind a ball that's short of a length. Defended into the offside. And there's no run. There's some clouds over the ground at Gaul, or in the distance. Actually, where we've seen them quite often during this test series, where it might be raining in the distance. There might be some heavy clouds above, but they're not quite over the ground. It just seems to be its own microclimate, the Gaul ground, so we can play on.
How empty the roads are those times. It's usually jam-packed around the ground. There's one tuk-tuk going around the roundabout. Maybe there is one bus.
There is traffic on the roads, just not as much as usual. Lackmell bowls an away swinger, and Crawley ignores that one as well. I just wonder with Zach Crawley whether he's tempted. And we saw him early in the over. That feeling if he likes to get on with it. He's not quite a Kusal Pereira.
No, not
but
quite.
He does like to score.
Yeah, it's just worth just hanging in there though. In these conditions, the pitch is good. Don't risk too much too soon. Just set yourself small targets in terms of time, so just make sure you're there in 10 minutes, The scoreboard will look after itself. It's not the runs at the minute for England. It's just creating a nice solid foundation with composure, calmness.
Blackmell bowls. Crawley pulls the bat inside the line there, but like a Jack Russell leave. And it's through to the keeper. So 3 maidens at the start of the innings. Crawley and Sibley yet to get off the mark. One aspect of this Test match, of course, is that the World Test Championship points to play for, and England need to have a very special trip to the subcontinent to make the World Test Championship final. From memory, I think they need to win this game, and then they would need to win something like 3-0 in India, which is asking a lot. I mean, it's asking quite a lot, I think, for them to draw the series in India. Lackmar, it must have been.
Do you think
miscounted? Lackmar bowls outside the off stump. There's no stroke from Crawley again, and that is the end of the over. They just miscounted on our TV monitor. I'm not sure anyway. We have now had the 3 maidens.
Simon, there's a question. Deep down, with the amount of cricket that England have been asked to play this year, do you think they need one more Test match in a World Test Match Championship?
Yeah, well, I think are they definitely going to play 2 tests against New Zealand if they make the World Test Championship final, or they just play 1 test against New Zealand and then
what happens if it's not New Zealand?
What, in the final?
Oh, so they play 1 against New Zealand and then the final.
And then the final, yeah.
Even if it's not New Zealand in the final.
Well, yeah. I mean that's to be decided, isn't it? Really, I think there are sort of plans in place about how they're going to do it, and New Zealand are coming. They're going to play 2, I think. Here is Embledenia bowling outside the off stump. Sibley lets that one go. That does turn.
So this is where social media will go crazy if all of a sudden Embledenia starts ripping it, because you're only 20 minutes pretty much difference from England spinners having bowled on this pitch.
Embledenia bowls. Sibley reaches for that one, drives to extra cover.
He just doesn't look confident at all. It's all a little bit, it's hit my bat, I'm happy with that. Doesn't absolutely look guaranteed that he's going to smother it with his hands, with his foot movement, with his head position.
Slipping a deepish short leg in. Time to go back there. Sibley play that into the offside, and there's no run. I think in the later positions, it's New Zealand and India who occupy the top 2 places. Australia might drop to 3, but I think Australia can make up ground in that series against South Africa. So they've got that ace left yet. Forward goes Sibley. That runs away off a thickish outside edge towards point, and there's no run. England still yet to score after 3.4 overs.
It's the most amount of maidens, Andy, at
the start of an innings. I don't think we've reached it yet, have we?
We're near in the 4th, though.
Embledenia bowls. Sibley goes back, tries to force, hits it straight to extra cover. It's picked up by Chandimal, and there is no run. Embledenia holding his pace. He's only 51 miles an hour. Gives it a chance to spin, tempting Sibley. Embledenia tiptoes in, bowls to Sibley, and it's a forward defensive shot. The ball high on the bat there as Sibley reached forward for it. So we've had 4 maidens now. Is there anything you want to say about that, Andy, or not?
I'll dig that out. I was just looking for innings in which England's spinners have bowled most overs without a wicket, and this wasn't quite at the top, but it was in the top 10. 64 overs without a wicket for England's 2 spinners in this game. The most was 93 overs against Australia at Old Trafford in one of the dullest Test matches of all time in 1964.
I knew you were going to say 1960s, because that was a tough era, wasn't it? The 60s.
It was, yes. I mentioned earlier on, England had 34 draws in 47 away winters over the course of it was sort of across the 60s and early 70s. So not ideal, but back in Abu Dhabi. Sorry.
There's Lackmar bowling and Crawley defending down into the gully.
That Abu Dhabi test that we talked about earlier in the series in October 2015, in first innings 69 overs without a wicket, Moeen and Rashid. Predominantly then Rashid took 5 in the second innings and almost spun England to victory. And it happens to fine spinners. Laker and Locke went 64 overs without a wicket in the West Indies in 1954.
Yeah, Bess and Leach both took 5 wickets in an innings in the last Test match. Did we work out the last time that had happened? Last time 2 England spinners had both taken 5 wickets in separate innings in a Test match outside the off stump from Lackmel. Crawley doesn't play.
I think it might have been quite recent.
Was it?
I don't know.
No, it was the first Test in Sri Lanka. England played in 1982. Sri Lanka's first Test match.
Right, that was the last time it happened, was it?
Yeah, quite recent.
The grand scheme of things.
Just the 38 years ago. Is that right? Have I done my maths correctly? Yes.
Yeah, it's 38, 39. Just change of feel. They've got an extra cover that's gone over to short mid wicket, so I think the captain will have gone to that one. So I just need to bowl a bit straight to make Crawley play a bit more. David Saker, the bowling coach of Sri Lanka, just had some toast delivered on the balcony.
Lakmal to Crawley. A good corridor there from Lakmal, around about 4th stump, 5th stump, drawing Crawley forward, tempting him to play, but he resists. He strolls out towards square legs. That's 4.5 overs gone now.
Toasted sandwich,
and,
actually.
There's no run.
It looks like he's got cheese toasted. He's done the rounds, David Saker.
I thought it was, do you know what I thought it was? I thought it was a big slab of cake to start with.
Toasted sarnie.
It did like a toasted sandwich.
So he's been with England, Australia, now Sri Lanka.
Yeah. England still yet to score. I'm getting noises off. I'm getting some messages in my ear, but I'm not hearing them for some reason. It won't mean a great deal to our listeners, but it will to the production staff. They're trying to pass off on a message. Lakmal bowls short, and that's hoofed away by Crawley into the onside, taking the ball from outside the off stump, lifting it out towards deep mid wicket, and England are off the mark to the 4th ball of the 5th over of their innings. An emphatic style as well.
Yeah, Lakmal can't afford to drop short at this pace on this kind of wicket. Short of a length, only gets to about hip high for Zach Crawley. He's a tall chap. That's an easy shot, that. Been in for a couple of overs, got the pace of the pitch. Nice juicy one, you don't mind receiving one of those.
Contact has been made. It's a big weekend on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra. 10 FA Cup commentaries for you later on today in football.
That's the message, is it?
That was the message, yeah. Crawley on 4. Lakmal bowls to him outside the off stump. Normal service resumed in that corridor, and Crawley allowing it to go by. Taken by Dick Weller. Sri Lanka 381 all out. Matthews 110. Dick Weller 92. Pereira 67. Anderson. Amazing figures, really, when you consider the conditions and the pitch. 6 for 40. Not just 6 for 40. 6 for 40 from 29 overs.
That's madness.
13 maidens. Anderson bowled more maidens than almost double the number of maidens England spinners managed between them. They managed only 7. Lakmal to Crawley, right in that corridor again outside off stump. There is no stroke. It is the end of the over, so we've had 1 scoring shot in the first 5 overs of England's reply to 381. More from you, Michael, and then it will be Daniel Norcross.
Yeah, I mean, it's a traditional start for England. It's 4 from 5 overs, but they're doing the right thing. Just get yourself in. You don't need to risk anything. Just see out the day. Don't allow Sri Lanka a couple of early cheap wickets by just making a mistake or two. Just play the low basic cricket shots. That's all you need to do. Get into tomorrow and then try and do it for another day and then see where it takes you.
I've got something for Simon before he takes his headphones off. I've got a match for him in India. I don't know if you've mentioned this one yet. I think only 1 wicket fell to spin in this game from memory. That's spins past the outside edge of Sibley's bat from Embledenian. There's no run. And all of England's wickets were taken to seam, apart from one which they would run out, I think. The Jubilee Test of 1981. 81 was it? Ian Botham's match. Ian Botham, he bowled unchanged. Oh, big appeal for LBW. That looks out to me. He's given him. Yes, he was trapped on the crease with Sibley. The ball came on with the arm. It's hit him on the knee roll. I think it's not going over. He might well think to refer it. He's looking all at sea at the moment against the left arm spinner, and he's going to refer it, but I don't think he's going to get away with it. If he's lucky, well, at best it's going to be umpire's call, and that won't be enough. Alistair Cook has just joined me. Alistair Cook has not joined me yet. No, sorry. Michael Vaughan is still with me.
Well, the only thing that can save him here is going down the leg side, you think, but he's all at sea down against left arm spin, and in particular Embledenian. He goes back to a full length ball he should have been forward to. Surely it's hitting leg stump. He just traps him right back on the crease. He's right back on the stumps to a full length delivery.
I need Aldridge to confirm.
Yes, it looked out in real time, didn't it?
Right,
and he's deep in his crease, so although it's hit him just on the top of the knee roll, which often with a tall man would mean he's in with a chance here, but he's so far back that
he's been given out as well.
Yeah.
Down it's there's an inside edge.
Pull it. Keep going. Okay, flat line when the ball passes
No inside edge.
the bat. So you can give me ball tracking when it's ready.
So his moment of truth's about to come.
Ball tracking coming up.
Here we
Original
go.
position is out. Pitching in line, impact in line. And
Hitting.
cuts hitting.
And the loser review.
Give me picture please on field.
It just-
can stay with your original decision.
It just felt out, didn't it?
Yes,
It
on
felt
screen.
out. Lyndon Hannibal just confirming that, the third umpire in England. 4 for 1. Sibley, well, I mean, what's his figures now against Embledenia, Andy Zoltzman? Has he scored a run off him? If so, it won't be many. He's got him for the third time, I believe. LBW this time, trapped on the crease for naught. He strikes a somewhat disconsolate figure as he walks off, and this would be a concern for England because they've got a lot of test matches in the subcontinent to come, 4 against India, and they will see that, will they not, Michael
Well,
Vaughan?
absolutely. I mean, there's many concerns, in the way that the tours have been selected. That you've got Johnny Bairstow who's coming in now, who has been playing well, and did play well in the first. He's not going to be there for that first test against India. You've got Dom Sibley, who's the opening batsman, who is struggling like mad against spin. You've got Rory Burns coming back into the team or into the squad to potentially play. Hasn't been playing any cricket, so you're going to be taking what I believe is the best team in the world on in their own backyard. Potentially a top 3 of someone that's not playing spin very well, someone that's not played at all. So it just doesn't make sense when you're up against the best team in the world. You're on about planning and preparation, and there's so many people involved in the ECB and trying to put up a structure of what they're trying to deliver this year, but that cannot be right.
Well, it does seem odd, doesn't it? I mean, it's a long tour, but those 4 test matches come pretty thick and fast. The length of the tour it's really attenuated by the ODIs and the T20s at the back end. So you might have thought they could have found different places for rest, and I think this is a huge issue for England, as you
Massive.
point out. If Sibley had a decent run here against Sri Lanka, it wouldn't have looked quite so perilous. But as he walks off now, Andy Zoltzman, what are his figures in those 3 innings
The
to date?
head-to-head against Embledenia, Sibley 2, Embledenia 3 from 35 balls.
Ooh.
Well, they
2 runs in 35 balls and out 3 times.
Yeah, the clickbait on social media be firing into the England spinners. They didn't get a wicket in how many overs, and inside 3.
Well, Bairstow's at the crease, and there's a number of men round the bat now. 2 slips forward, short leg. He comes forward to defend his first ball from Embledenia. And England in more than a spot of bother. 4 for 1. The clouds are gathering, dark clouds are gathering, both metaphorically and physically, around the ground here at Gaul. Here is Embledenia, who's made the breakthrough. Just comes in off 3 or 4 paces, tosses it up, forward comes Bairstow, reaching outside the off stump, pushed into the offside, and there is no run.
Lovely ball to watch, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just all very natural in his release. He gets a nice bit of drop, loads of revolutions on the ball, and he's also got that one that we've just seen to Dom Sibley that kind of just skids on, and that's what makes any ball around off stump so dangerous. You're not too sure which way it's going to be going.
Here he is again, and he beats the outside edge of Bairstow's bat. This hard new ball is doing wonders for him at the moment. Bairstow gets nowhere near it in the end, I think. He came forward to defend a straight ball, and it's beaten his bat by a couple of inches on the outside edge.
Well, let's be honest, Dan, in 17 balls that Embledenia's bowled already, they've looked a lot more threatening than anything we saw from the England spinners.
Bairstow faces up and again reaches for it, gets a thick edge, and it lands just in front of second slip. End of the 6th over. England 4 for 1, having bowled out Sri Lanka for 381. And Michael Vaughan, it does look that way. I mean, to a degree, do we have to say that the pitch is starting to deteriorate, or is it too soon really? Have we got to...
Oh, it is, and it's done a little bit more today, but we've also got to be honest, that it was only an hour or so ago that the spinners were bowling on this surface. They haven't got anything like the amount of revolutions that Embledenia gets on the ball. He just gets more on the ball, he spins it more. It's always the first thing. Graham Swan, who for me is the best spinner that I've seen in our lifetime, bowling, spinning, test match cricket for England. He always talks about just make sure you spin the ball massively. Toughers as well. Spin the ball. I just don't know if the England spinners spin it hard enough.
Saranga Lakmal starts a new over, the 7th of the innings. 2 slips in, and Crawley defends back at the wicket, and there's no run. Has Crawley faced all the balls from Lakmal, Andy Zoltzman? I think he must have done.
Clever.
Yes,
Yeah.
just the one scoring shot before, so no changes of ends.
So we just had the one scoring shot in 37 deliveries of this innings so far. England feeling the pressure here. We've got a slightly shortened session. When I say slightly shortened, it'll be able to go on till 12, but as England bowled out Sri Lanka slightly later, just before tea was taken when they were bowled out, and that had just extended the middle session ever so slightly. As Lakmal is in, right arm over the wicket, and Crawley again defends nicely, solidly and late. Not seeing Crawley though against the spinner yet. Tuffers was saying earlier, Michael, that he's interested in where the arm is, where Embaldinia's arm is when he releases, and it's notably different from where England's spinners tend to be.
It comes a bit lower and wider, is that what he's saying? So he kind of
Wider.
gets more side spin.
Yep.
He certainly gets more. You don't have to look at the ball when it's, I know it's sometimes on slow-mo, but it looks like it's just spinning so much more vigorously.
It's not the easiest thing to do with a new ball as well. Here is Lakmal, and Crawley lets that go by through to Dick Weller outside the off stump, too wide to tempt him, and there is no run.
He's got a lovely kind of natural action. It just all looks very natural and loose, and he's just got that natural variation that he spins the ball, it gets dip, so he can do the batter with a bit of flight.
It's a short approach, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a short approach, just 3 or 4 paces.
Yeah. Do the batters both sides of the bat, outside edge and the inside.
Well, that one that came on, isn't it, for Sibley there. As Lakmal is in, and Crawley just pushes again forward in defence, playing it under his eyes, back up the wicket, past the bowler. Picked up at mid-on, there's no run. 4 for 1. I mean, that was something that was Tuffers was crying out for. We wanted to see that, the ball that comes on with the arm as well as the one that goes past the outside edge, and that's what's done for Sibley there. Again, it's the ball that comes in. It's not so much the one that's taking the edge and getting caught at slip or anything. It's the one that comes in. And is it something partly to do as well with the way Sibley's bat comes across it? He's slightly horizontal as opposed to straight up and down. Here is Lakmal, and Crawley pulls into the onside, out to the boundary. There is a man out there. They'll pick up just a single. Asitha Fernando does the fielding, who has been relegated from taking the new ball as Saranga Lakmal has returned.
He might not get a ball
England
for a while.
5 for 1. We're going to say a goodbye to Michael, who'll be with us before the close of play today. And Alistair Cook has come to sit next to me, with England in more than a spot of bother here. 2 scoring shots in 6.5 overs. They've lost the wicket of Sibley. You've opened the batting many, many times. What can Sibley do? We saw a little bit in the tour of 2016-17 when Ben Duckett hadn't faced as an opening batsman spin at the top of the order, and it was, he had to learn on the job, didn't he? Sibley's in a similar position here.
He is. First out, I think Sri Lanka started very well. There's been probably just one bad ball, which is the one Crawley hit for 4, the little drag down. But Lakmal has been in that corridor, just a little bit of swing, and hasn't missed his length, very miserly. I hope England don't go too negative. They've got to keep their intent to play and to look to score.
Lakmal in to complete the over. Bairstow lets this go by outside the off stump. That's the end of the over, just the one from it. Crawley has all 5 of England's runs. They're 5 for 1. 7 overs have been bowled. Sibley the man out for a duck. Bairstow's with him yet to score.
They've got to. That will get themselves into better positions to play. Just rotate the strike. I'm not talking about Crawley's big shot he played in the first innings of the first test match. Run down, have a hack, try and hit over the top. I'm saying looking to hit extra covers left or right hand, push it in the gap, trying to start that rotational strike to put pressure back on, low risk pressure back onto the Sri Lankan spinners and bowlers. The one thing I've just watching Dom Sibley playing that innings there is he's not picking length. He's gone back to a ball he should have been forward to. He's done that twice now, and the key to spin, and we all know, is that length quick. You've got to be quicker on the feet against spin bowling than you do against pace bowling. Even though the ball comes down you slow and you've got more time, he's very heavy on his feet, and
But he sort of hangs back a bit naturally, doesn't he? Which I suppose against spinners is that much more perilous. Forward comes Crawley, gets an edge to it, goes through the first slip, and he's been given. Wondered for a moment if that just come off pad, but the umpire's finger goes up. Crawley's got to go, and England's openers' woes continue. Crawley for 5, England 5 for 2. Embledeni with his second wicket, he's yet to concede a run. Well, England are in all sorts of bother here, Alistair Cook.
Yeah, England are. That's a good ball, isn't it? That is right exactly where you want it. Perfect seam position, and it's just done enough, isn't it? You don't think he's hit that?
Well, on the replay, maybe it's because we're looking
I think the line of the screen.
So it might be the line of the screen. He's been given out, Corbett, and he's not referred it, so he's out. So I'm just, my eyes are deceiving me, but it was a good ball. It turned just enough to take the edge, and contrast the ball in pod to get rid of Sibley. I mean, it's terrific bowling from Embledeni.
It is. It's right on the money. It's right in that where you got to play. And it is a concern, isn't it? When a bowler has a thing over the England top order of Sibley and Crawley, then it's very hard to come out to get over. You know, you're talking about Ben Duckett in India. You know, the first time these guys would have experienced anything like that, and you have to learn on the job quickly. And you know, you have to trust the coaches, and that, you know, as Jack Gallis, one of the great players of all time, is ever a person to learn how to play spin without being too expansive. He's a great person to learn off, but it's, for me, just watching the way going back to the way Sibley was playing, he's not picking that length, he's not quick on his feet. You know, I'm not talking, he has to be like Michael Clarke, who's a brilliant player of spin in terms of, you know, you talk to Graham Swan about Michael Clarke, the way he came down to the pitch of the ball, as soon as he saw it go up, he'd get quick feet moving to go down to the pitch to be able to manoeuvre it around, and if it's just that short, to be able to go back and, you know, right back to stumps to enable him to hit it almost where he wanted it. So to me, if I was with Sibley and Crawley, all my training would be in the nets would be, can you pick length? Are you picking the length? You're not in that in between like defending in that on the crease line. You're either forward or back, and where are you defending the ball? Are you defending it dead straight? I wouldn't want to be defending it too straight with a bit of turn. You want to be defending a little bit, you know, to the offside if you're, you know, with Embledeni to hit, maybe aiming at mid-off a little bit, because that just gets you a natural shape to go ride a little bit of the ball.
Here he is, first ball to Root is cut away to point, there's no run, and that's absolutely emblematic of the difference here as Root practices his foot movement, dancing back and forth. And we saw it with Root, the very first test match he played. He looked a bit at sea against the spinners in India in his first innings, and then Embledeni is in, he comes forward, gets a thick outside edge, squirts past second slip, and he's off the mark. England 6 for 2, and then in that second innings he changed his method into the one we sort of see now, where it's very purposeful, going onto his back foot, purposeful coming forward, whereas Sibley, as we see the replay, is stuck with weight sort of going nowhere. The Crawley dismissal, I feel for a bit, because he's just bowled the perfect left arm as delivery, hasn't he?
He has. You know, I'm going to be, you know, if you're being very critical, it looks like he's, as he nicks it, his back foot's coming around a bit, so he's almost trying to defend to mid-on a little bit. He's a bit worried about the straight on, which you are with that, with the new ball skidding on, but I would like to see him a little bit more leg side and looking to defend to mid-off, like just to ride the ball a little bit, not quite so rigid.
Embledeni in, clipped away by Bairstow, who went back into his crease and turned that foolish ball into a short enough one to get a single. He's also off the mark. England 7 for 2.
But just quickly going back to Dom Sibley, if you watch that first over he bowled to Embledeni bowled to him, he bowled a couple of those balls to Joe Root. He bowled his first ball to Joe Root, and straight away Joe Root's back looking to score, while Sibley is very slow and just donking it in the offside. You know, that intensity you need. And you learn. I'm not saying you have to learn. I'm not saying, you know, it's going to be easy for Dom Sibley. That's what he needs to do. That bit snappier foot movement.
Forward comes Root, defends off the front foot, and there's no run. I suppose, looking forward to the India series, what's good for England is that Jadeja's not going to be available because he's hurt his hand. Had an operation on it. He's not in the squad. So Ashwin's going to be their premier bowler. He's an off spinner, which makes a bit of a difference. Root goes right back into his crease again, exactly illustrating what we're talking about. Works out to the onside. Lakmal trots into field. They pick up a single. Root 2. Bairstow has 1. England 8 for 2. But for Sibley, but my concern, you'll be able to speak better about this, is that he so predominantly looks to work the ball on the onside that a left arm spinner taking the ball away from him is always going to be awkward for his technique. How does he? You talk about trying to hit the defensive shot to mid off, but when your bat's actually sort of coming to play every shot towards mid wicket, that's quite a change, isn't it?
It is a little bit of a change, but I'm not too fussed where his backlift starts, really. Because Steve Smith, his backlift is out there, and so it is possible to make the movement. And Amla's not quite the same. It is exactly the same, but it's quite the same. Amla does come around it, so you can still do that. It'd be a great chat. It's a great chat. I'm quite excited would be to work with him to do this, because he'd never experienced anything like this, Dom Sibley. All his opening the batting would have been against the new ball, English seamers, and this is what the great challenge of Test cricket is, in a different environment. And can you overcome the challenge?
Lakmal starts a new over to Root, who covers up in defence. There's no runs. He plays into the onside. 8 for 2 England.
Can you overcome the challenge? Can you deal with the fact that you're going to be opening the innings against a spinner with the new ball slightly skidding on, or just gripping enough? So I'd be concentrating on my pure basics of, am I picking length well? I'd get someone to throw hundreds of balls at me from the arm, and am I making that decision right, and how quick am I making that decision? And I'll start from literally the basics of it, and if you can do that, you can build some strong basics quickly, and it won't take him that long, but he has to do, I think, a lot of work on it.
Blackmal's in. Root waits for him. That keeps a little low, but he gets his bat down and it pushes out into the onside. There's no run. Andy Zaltzman. England have lost 6 with their opener's been out twice in 3 innings. Those 6 wickets, how many runs have they accrued between them?
Not many, Dan. Specifically the head-to-head between M. Buldenia and England's openers. Sibley 2 from 27 balls. I said 35 earlier on, I miscounted. 2 for 3 from 27. Crawley 5 for 3 from 29.
So M. Buldenia's taken them each time. He's taken all 6 for 7 runs off him. Lakmal's in. That's clipped away into the onside. Nicely by Root, getting up on his toes, and picks up another single. 9 for 2. We were talking about Jimmy Anderson's exceptional record against Thirumanne, but I think 6 for 7 an average of 1.16 or 1.17 is quite the thing, isn't it?
Yes, against the rest of England's batsmen put together, he's 1 for 199 in the series, so I think we've basically seen him off.
Take him off now.
Isn't that curious? There's a huge flock, by the way, of crows that have arrived, and they're rather portentous, ominous kind of characters to be sort of hanging around the carcass of English cricket at the moment. England 9 for 2. Lakmal is in to Bairstow, who defends solidly into the offside, and there's no run. It's been a rocky time for England's openers, and I'm not going to mention, because it would be right to do so, but that they are currently being sponsored by a charity for the runs they score. England's openers, Crawley and Sibley, yeah. And I think when that charity got involved, they
off the back of Crawley's 260 odd.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's very unfortunate for them, but M. Buldenia is denting that ambition somewhat at the moment.
So have India got no left arm orthodox in their squad? They must do, mustn't they?
Well, there's Yadav, Kedar Yadav. So he's unorthodox left arm, isn't he?
Leg spin.
Yeah. Lakmal in, defended by Bairstow into the offside. There's no run, so I don't know. I'm trying to think if they got I don't think they do have an orthodox left armour, which might well work.
Is it going to be a little bit like the Kevin Peterson thing, where the side just pick any left arm?
Yuvraj Singh will be recalled.
It worked perfectly for me. I mean, they kept producing a left arm spinner. I got happy knocking him into the leg side.
Yep.
Don't know about the off spin, but that was a. Well, that is good news. Will he be fit at all, Jadeja, or is he had?
Well, he had an operation because of it was dislocated, broken badly, and I thought he was going to be out for 6 weeks on the moment that it was hit was the first news, which would take him maybe back in for the 4th test. Clipped away nicely by Bairstow, square of the wicket. It was fallen on the pads. The Crows scatter. The ball thuds into the sponge. A welcome boundary for England and Bairstow. It looks so different when Lakmal's on. England 13 for 2, but they're going to have to face more trial by M. Buldenia, who has extraordinary figures at the moment. He's picked up 2 wickets. Jonathan Agnew is ready and waiting for me. You missed your chance, Dan. I thought you would know. The collective noun for crows. Oh, a murder. It's a murder of crows.
It's a murder.
Under the circumstances, feels much more appropriate than a flock.
Yes. You're absolutely right.
A murder of crows, and they're looking pretty murderous out there at the moment. A lot of them had a deep mid wicket. So anyway, there we go. Wow, what a situation. 13 for 2. And there's opening. It's fascinating listening to Alistair talking about technique and how you and what these two have to do, because it gets into the mind after a little while. Mbuldenya's on his way, bowls to Root, who's on the back foot playing out to cover. One of 3 men there in a ring plus mid-off, and there is no run, but it doesn't take long till it niggles away, does it, Alistair?
No, we were just talking about the technical side there, and quite rightly you brought up then the mental challenge as well.
Yeah, here's the next one. Roots, he plays it so clever on that back foot, doesn't he? Most people you think would have played that on the front foot, but he manages to get back into his crease.
Yeah, that's the trusting of his technique, isn't it? He trusts his game, trusts his eye that it is. You could quite easily go forward there, but he's very happy on the back foot, trusting he will react to the ball off the pitch.
Mbuldenya again. This is Joe Root for you. He's played a classic defensive technique to the ball before, and now, well, a bit of one day about that, because he's slog swept the ball along the ground, dragging it from outside the off stump and put him away through mid wicket, which is great, because you just don't. You've got to get a little bit of initiative back.
Yeah, I mean it's a great shot, because he's not a premeditated shot. It's obviously in his mind, but as soon as he sees the ball not pitching on the stumps, that's his go-to shot, and as soon as it's there, that's his way of putting the pressure on Mbuldenya. You sort of puff of the cheeks almost from him saying, not again. Yep. We're going to have the torture of that.
Now he goes back again, turns into the onside, and Root's movements around the crease they're so quick and they're so fluid.
So different, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say explain to people who I think a lot of people watching on the telly, you think that Joe Root was kind of average sized bloke. He's actually quite a tall man, isn't he? When you stand alongside him, he's got a big stride and he can go a long way forward, and he similarly can get quite a long way back into that crease.
Yeah, he uses it well, but his ability to pick the length, as I've just been talking about, is brilliant, and also to pick the line, to be able to have the quick mind of that is outside, that judgment he makes so quickly to be able to play that shot. He doesn't often play the sweep off the stumps.
Now Bairstow's on strike. Mbuldenya goes wide of his off stump. Bairstow ignores that. To spin away into Dick Weller's gloves. 364 runs behind, then a lot of batting to do here. Sri Lanka got themselves in a really good position. Some dogged, determined batting. Partnerships after wickets had fallen. And Mbuldenya floats that up, round out leg stump. Bairstow turns it round the corner now. There was a run there, and Bairstow wanted it, but for some reason, Root sent him back. I'm not quite sure what that was about. Matthews was chasing after the ball. They'll have a little conversation now, I think. And I suspect Root might say, I'm sorry. Of course, there was one there. But,
that run out in the second innings, these two.
Yes, well, there was a run out last time.
Yeah, and I think Mbuldenya actually blocked Joe there as well, so I think it was almost a carbon copy just on the leg side this time, but thankfully they didn't take the risk.
No. Well, it's gripping cricket, and a lot of chatter around the stumps that again playing in this part of the world. I guess you have to get used to it, don't you, Alistair? I mean, it's just I was sort of saying before the Test series began, the Sri Lanka, lovely, very beguiling, very chatty and friendly. You walk over that line, it's like a different world out there. There's hostile and there's lots of chat going on, and it's a completely different world.
It's going back to those first 30 balls, isn't it, where you feel as if it's the hardest thing in the world, and you just don't think how am I going to score a run, and then suddenly you just find the rhythm of the pitch, find the rhythm of the bowler, your rhythm against that bowler, and it becomes so much easier. But those, and then obviously Sri Lankans or the Indians do go a lot quieter, and you kind of think, well, I've done the first stage there. Then it's a case of not letting that advantage slip.
Now that was interesting. You're right. There was a little bit of a contact again there between Mbuldenya and Root has said to him, hang on, you're not doing this a second time, and there's been some words spoken there. You mustn't get in the way of the batsman like that. Not certainly assisted in the run out in in the last Test match. Fernando's on his way, bowls on the off stump, his first delivery. Big burly fellow, and it's about 80 miles an hour, so he's not electrifyingly fast, but honest seam bowler for this part of the world, typical really of a Sri Lankan seamer. A few variations in pace. Lakmal there at mid-ons, giving him some instructions or two, some advice. He does get a little bit of movement here and there.
As we watch them replay, Tuffer said, "Oh, he's nicked it. Oh, he's nicked it."
Tuffer's fell for that one, did he?
He fell for that one there.
It wasn't just me. Root goes back and plays out to mid-off. I've had a lot of people saying to me that they were really pleased that it happened to someone like us, or me, because they've for years shouted at televisions or made mistakes or shouted in pubs when goals have been scored. Why can't they just put replay somewhere on the screen? They said now that a commentator's been properly done by it, that may be what it needs. But so many people say half watching in a pub or something, so the football go in the net. 18 for 2. In goes Fernando, bowls outside the off stump. There's that little bit of movement I was talking about, just away from the bat. It'll be mindful of that as he allows that to go through. 18 for 2 in the 11th over. That's quite some nice bit of swing there for Fernando.
Lakmal got a little bit of shape, didn't he, as well? So
yeah, I thought he got a little bit short, if I'm honest. I thought we could pitch another couple of feet up, but it's only being finickety from here.
He's doing a job for them Budella at the other end.
Yes, you have. Exactly. 18 for 2. Root on 8. Fernando runs in, bowls, turns him across his pads out to square leg. 18 for 2, 364 behind. Sri Lanka bowled out for 381 if you're just joining us. The seam bowlers took all the wickets. And in all the flurry of stats and backwards and forwards and so on, Andy, I'm just wondering if we just nail down that one about England's seamers and spinners. When the last time in a Test match, say in Asia or something, that happened with England. But England quick bowlers took all the wickets and the spinners took none. It's very unusual. Here's Fernando bowling outside the off stump. Root again can allow that to go harmlessly through outside the off stump. So it's one ball to go. There is. Fernando runs his hand through his hair. He's chatting there to, I assume, Lakmal again, who's close by. One ball to go. Root's ready, settling over his bat. Still, what, an hour and a half of play left today if we go all the way through. No idea what the light is like, of course. Fernando bowls on the off stump. Root plays to leg. To Lakmal at mid-on. And that ends the over. And Lakmal, another avuncular word there from mid-on to his young quick bowler. 18 for 2, 11 overs gone. So 364 behind. Tough day. And Sri Lanka did do well because they did lose those little wickets in clusters, but then they did manage to dig deep with a partnership to just prevent England from running through them.
They did, in that grind of subcontinent cricket where the game wasn't really moving forward. You didn't feel much was happening, but it's those valuable runs they were adding, yes, quite slowly, just suddenly adds on there now, doesn't it? That, getting that 370 rather than getting bowled out for 320, those extra 50, 60 runs makes such a big difference, and the extra time and wear on the wicket to help them. Actually, it has spun more for them than they did for the English spinners, which is understandable after day 2, of heat on this wicket.
Mbildenya then, he's taken 2 wickets and he's bringing Bairstow forward. Ball trickles away a few yards up the pitch and Bairstow puffs out his chest. He's got men all round him, and that's having a word, I think, with Dick Weller, the keeper.
I don't think he made that much of an effort to walk off the danger zone, did he?
Pitch. No, well, yeah. He was complaining there, Johnny, that the wicketkeeper walked up the pitch to go and pick the ball up. But what I would say about that was it was in the middle of the pitch. But anyway, The umpires didn't say anything.
I do like the fact that the short leg made no attempt to go and get it though. He could have stopped all of that, but no, they let the keeper go.
Well, that's true. And Buldenia once more round the wicket, floats that up. Oh, catch it, they shout, as a leading edge. Very nearly popping up a caught and bowled there. Got to be careful when you're playing against the spin. Don't absolutely get over it. Allow it to spin that little bit and bounce, and there's the return catch, and Bairstow there almost popped that up. Just enough room there for the ball to turn and bounce and find the leading edge of the bat.
So close, wasn't it, to the return catches? He doesn't have much follow through, does he, every day? He's just and the crease, so he's ready to get it, but it was just a tad wide.
He's again bowling, a sweep from Root, hits him on the pad. No, I think he spends too much time barging the batsman. Puts him out of position to do that if he follows through. A cunning ploy to tangle up with the batsman when he's trying to run. God, that went through the top, didn't it?
It did. It seems to be a bit more frequent, doesn't it?
Yeah. Crows are gathering there at mid-wicket. And Buldenia again. Bowls, tossing that one up, turns away and bounces. Well, has taken that on the rise, but around about chest height going up.
It's a great challenge for England, isn't it? That they're could experience a lot in the next, 4 Test matches. An average first innings score is 400.
There's a little sweep. One at least. Egrets this time being scattered. And the fielder finally appears. It's Lackmal up there in the deep. Throws it back and Root picks up another couple. England limp on to 21 for 2, but it's very tense at the moment. Those waiting to come in.
It's getting used to being kind of this far behind in the game, but that, if they can get up close to Sri Lanka, it's a long way away, but they're, against India, they're going to be 400s and average scorers in the first innings, so you are going to be starting your first innings this far behind, and you could lose the odd wicket early on. It's natural. You've got to trust yourself to rebuild the partnership.
Root on the back foot, wait, he shouts. He cuts that firmly to point, and there's no run. That's the end of the over. And again, I suppose you're back on that confidence thing, Alistair, really, where if you're comfortable in your mind that you can back yourself out of that situation, if you've done it before, or if you back yourself to do it, it is that frame of mind.
Yeah, and you've got to take almost the scoreboard out of the situation. If you're batting now, you're just thinking, right, I've just got to concentrate on getting into my rhythm, to play my way, my scoring shots in there, and suddenly everything will just calm down. Suddenly, before we know, if you build that partnership, you get to 50 for 2, 80 for 2, and then it's really treasuring that partnership to go as big as you can, because the next person in, so obviously Dan Lawrence in next, he's got to do the hard bit to get in first, and he's got to get through that. So actually these two are just starting to kind of calm the game down a little bit after the flurry of losing the first 2 wickets. The opener's gone, so it's kind of stage 1 is almost there.
It was the third time that England's seamers have taken all 10 wickets in an innings in Asia. The more recent of those 2 was in Chittagong in October 2003, when England bowled Bangladesh out fairly cheaply. Richard Johnson taking 5 for 49, a couple of wickets for Ricky Clark and Martin Saggers, and 1 for Matthew Hoggard, only 2 overs from Ashley Giles. Before that, you've got to go back to the extraordinary Jubilee Test in Mumbai in 1980 that we were talking about earlier on, where there was only 1 wicket from spin in the entire match out of 30 that fell. 19 of the wickets England took were by paces, the other was a run out, and in the second innings all 10, 7 to Botham and 3 to John Lever.
That's right.
Botham also scored 100 in a match which no other player made 50.
But the Vaseline match, Fernando bowls on the off stump, and Bairstow covers up and plays down to mid-off, and there's no run. I'm pretty sure it wasn't it? Where
you're going to have to explain this one.
Oh well, this was quite craft as well. It was obviously very sweaty in Mumbai, and I think Bernie Thomas, who was a physio at the time, devised these strips to go above your eye, which were Vaseline coated. And so it wasn't long before there were suggestions of, especially with all the wickets falling to swing bowlers. I'm not sure if Ian Botham had them. John Lever certainly did. He was the one who seemed to be at the sort of flash point of this row. And goes Fernando bowling and beats Bairstow. A lovely ball. That's that fuller length they're talking about. It just swung to and drew Bairstow into a bit of a push outside the off stump. Yes, so it was a ball tampering row thanks to these Vaseline coated strips. Was that the one?
Well, the Vaseline incident on Wikipedia refers to Chennai 1977 Lever and Bob Willis, England's bowlers on that occasion. But both of them in that Jubilee Test. The last game before he became England captain, a century, as I said, no other batsman made 50 and 13 wickets in the game, arguably the greatest individual Test match of all time.
21 for 2. In goes Fernando, bowls and Bairstow's forward, pushing out to mid-off. What happened in Vaseline Gate? Were they made to take them off? Was it? I think they must have been, wouldn't they? They'd have to. Can't imagine these days strips of Vaseline being strapped to your forehead. But it seemed quite a good idea at the time. But I suppose these things are sort of brought in and tried out, aren't they? And then it's like the aluminium bat. It's only when they're ruled out that the rules are made. Fernando over the wicket, bowls again a ball that swings away. He's had as much swing as anybody in the course of the game, actually. Bairstow lets that go through.
So David Saker's the old England bowling coach. He's the now Sri Lankan. Is he scene bowling coach or is he assistant coach?
They get around, don't they?
Yeah. Surely that's the easiest gig in town, isn't it? The Sri Lankan seam bowling coach. They bowled, what did Fernando bowl last game? Like 13 overs the whole game.
Yes, right, you're going to bowl 5 overs. This is how I want you to bowl them the entire day. Mind you, Jimmy Anderson did more than that. He earned his corn. Fantastic performance. And back goes Bairstow running it away. Crows scattering all over the place as the fielder pursues that. The ball's going to win though. Clattering into the boundary edge down at square third man. 25 for 2. He's the national fast bowling coach, is David Saker. So I'm told.
Well, I just saw him about half an hour ago getting a cheese toastie delivered to him by the dressing room attendant. So I had to fire off a text message.
Look at how the Indian fast bowling has developed.
Yeah,
relatively recently too, though. I mean, it's there. There's no reason why not, is there? It's always been a mystery as to why Pakistan produced fast bowlers and India never did. So there was the fast bowling clinic in Madras, wasn't there? The Dennis Lilly fast bowling camp. All these things set up. Fernando bowls is beautifully, gracefully played by Bairstow into the offside. Hit that really well, but straight to cover. And that's the end of the over. 25 for 2. So the battle continues for another hour and 20 minutes, as long as the light remains. Some more thoughts from Alistair. And then I think we've got Simon Mann, who I can see reclining up at Salford at the moment. He seems to have no inclination to put his headphones on. So I don't know if you can hear me or not. But anyway, it's snowing up there, and it's snowing in some parts of the country. So if you are out and driving, then please be careful. Look at I think Simon's fallen asleep. Yep, I think he has. He's engrossed in conversation. Never mind, I'll carry on. 25 for 2. 3:57 behind. Conversation between Chandimal, the captain, and Abel Denya here about how they're going to bowl to Joe Root. And someone very unkindly, I think, has woken. You're right, son. Wakey, you're right. You seem to have drifted off.
No, I wasn't. I was having a quite an intense and interesting discussion about cricket with Michael.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Here is Embel Denya bowling to Root, who stretches forward and plays that towards leg slip. I was so engaged in it, I forgot I was supposed to be commentating on the cricket. I promise you, I was learning stuff about cricket at the same time. Not that I can share it all with you now, but just talking about Australian cricket. Here is Root going right deep in his crease there, pushing that away into the onside towards short leg. And there's no run. Root on 10 and Bairstow on 10. England 5 for 2. Remembering that Sri Lanka in their first innings were 7 for 2 and recovered to make 3-8-1. Root goes right back into his crease there and squeezes that away into the offside. Back with a square. They're off for 1, throws on its way, and they're coming back for the second. That's good running between Root and Bairstow. We haven't always been able to say that so far in the series, but it was there. Ramesh Mendis was after it, sent in the return. Root onto 12, Bairstow on 10, and Embel Denya with those 2 wickets. So even if Embel Denya took 6 for 40, there's nothing stopping them making 300 and odd because that's exactly what happened to Sri Lanka, with Anderson taking 6 for 14. Anyway, that's for England to try to piece together as time goes on. Root playing the sweep shot there, and it's been a very effective shot for him in this series. Almost a sort of sweeping a ball that you might normally drive. Root goes right back into his stumps and plays that away towards extra cover, and there's no run. So that tremendous flexibility against spin. He's really worked his game out, what he wants to do. Still a challenge, mind you, as on this surface is offering more spin now. Embledenia bowls. Root plays the sweep shot and scuffs it away into the leg side, out towards deep back with square leg. And spinners generally hate being swept, unless the ball's top edged or gloved, whatever. You're making decent contact regularly, they really hate it. 28 for 2. Right, Thomas, you tell me, you hate being swept, don't you? Root 13, Bairstow 10.
Yes, I mean, especially on a very good sweep, it doesn't necessarily matter what line you're bowling. You can sweep it from deep mid-wicket round to the fine sweep. I mean, what would be a plan is to perhaps try and find a fielder and put him at square leg. And then you're almost then saying, well, you've either got to hit me well in front of square for the sweep shot, or to try and play the straight back shot, or the sort of the straight back flick through mid-wicket, which then brings in the leading edge. It just seems a little bit too easy for Joe Root to sort of pick a spot, and if he takes it early, it's in front of square, and if he wants to paddle it, behind square. So it might be worth just having a couple of fielders on the sweep just to try and get another shot out of Joe Root.
Fernando goes in and bowls to Root, and it's gone for 4. Off the pad possibly, we'll wait for the signal. It's gone down fine. Diving Dick Weller couldn't get across. It was angled down the leg side and flicked something on the way through.
He's got a good release point, Embledenia. The point of release is slightly wider than perhaps a Jack Leach or even a Dom Bess, left right arm spin obviously, but it's sort of like creates more of an angle coming into the right hander from his release point and his shoulder rotation, which the two England opening batsmen sort of struggled to compensate.
What about in Embledenia's wrist as well, how hard he spins the ball? Does he spin it harder than someone like Jack Leach?
Well, I mean, it looks like it gets a good flip on it, but then so does Jack Leach can give it a flip as well. 32 for 2. Fernando bowls outside the off stump. Root doesn't play. It's more the angles he creates are sort of more attacking. If it goes straight on, it's thundering into the pads from an angle, and then if it turns, that's where the outside edge comes into play. Well, it's all angles, it's all angles.
Yeah. 32 for 2. Just trying to work out whether those runs were given to Root or not. They're leg buys. They were runs. Root's gone to 17. Did go very quickly past Dick Weller. It wasn't a chance. It wasn't in the air. Bounced away from him. Just in front of him as well. Fernando bowls. Root takes the ball from middle stump, clipping it into the onside towards wide mid-on. Sets off for a single. What will be worth noting, if Root plays a substantial innings here, is how much he drives the spinners, or not, as the case may be.
Exactly. That's why I was saying about a slight field change. You want to try and get Joe Root playing with a straighter bat to the spin bowlers. And you can cut off those sweep shots by sort of, canny field placings. You want to try and get him sort of whipping it through mid-wicket, because that's where the gap is, and you kind of shut off those sweep shot gaps.
So you come up with an unorthodox
a little bit, to try and force him into playing a shot that he doesn't quite feel comfortable on, or as comfortable. I mean, he's a wonderful player of spin.
Bairstow on 10. Fernando bowls. Bairstow nudges this into the leg side. He's off for a single towards mid-wicket. Yeah, it would be interesting if they did block those areas for Root, whether he would look to drive or not. And then I suppose if he's not scoring through his sweep, what does he do? Does he become becalmed?
Yes, a little bit. I mean, he's obviously got a game plan against spin bowlers, which has worked beautifully, but you can just sort of narrow down those options a bit with just the odd different field placing.
So what would your field be then? It's 34 for 2. We're actually watching a seam bowler bowl at the moment, but the fascination really is with the spinner against two England batsmen. I'd
perhaps have a 45, a man just in front of the square, and a man on sort of orthodox sweep almost, on the boundary.
Right. Fernando bowls very full. It's a full toss, and Root misses out there. He hits it straight to extra cover, and he's frustrated himself because he knew that was a 4 ball.
Leave the mid-wicket area open and try and get him flicking them through mid-wicket.
Right, so you got a 45 and a forward square leg and then a deep backward square leg.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so that's sort of cutting the only then sweep shot that he's really getting value for his sort of risk, which is a bit of a risk on a pitch like this, top edge, LBW, is the one that he takes really early from perhaps wide of off stump and hits through the mid-wicket, which then can bring in the top edge.
Yeah. Fernando bowls, Root goes across his stumps and clips that away, down towards that fine leg.
Oh, it's like a game of chess out there, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it's a single there.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it?
Root to 19 and then 35 for 2 in reply to Sri Lanka's 381. It does feel a little bit at the moment as there's two games going on. It's one when the seamer's on at one end and when the spinner's on at the other. It won't be long, it won't be that long I think before we see spin at both ends, but
I would love to have seen Joe Root play against someone like Warne. That would have been a good examination.
Well, he's played extremely well so far in this series.
Just
double 100, 19 not out. Come and settle things down for England after that terrible start. 5 for 2 for old Dom Sibley, sitting in that change room at the moment. Everything wrong with his cricketing world, and he's got more to come as well. You know, go to India.
Oh yeah.
Where, I mean, there's going to be some pace bowling around in India as well, Mike. It's not as if they're just spin heavy or spin reliant. They've got some decent pace bowlers in that squad. Bumrah's back, Ishant Sharma is back. Here is Embledenia, bowls a floaty full toss on leg stump. Root set himself to playing one way and in the end had to adjust and dab it into the onside for a single.
And that's where that man forward, saving the one just in front of square, would have just hoovered that up. No run.
So you're still having a short leg as well as those men?
No, I wouldn't have a short leg.
Wouldn't have a short leg, okay. So one more to Root takes him to 20. And England move up to 36 for 2. They're still on 11.
Yeah, you've got. Oh, sorry, Andy.
Just on England's bowlers taking all 10 wickets with seam in tests in Asia. I'll come to this after this ball.
There's an update, isn't there, Andy? I think Bairstow's about to take strike from Embledenia. We thought he was ready to face, but he's pulled away. So there's a slight delay. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. So just hold fire a second. Embledenia is now ready, and Bairstow is as well. He bends at the knees, 3 close catches. Embledenia bowls. Bairstow sweeps hard towards deep backward square leg. It is only a single, 37 for 2.
The test in Kandy in 2001 that England won by 3 wickets, the second test of the series to level the series before winning the decider. 4 wickets for Gough, 4 for Caddick and 2 for Craig White. Craig White bowled spin occasionally. He's predominantly a seamer in international cricket, so he's categorised on the system I use as mixed, which does slightly play havoc with the system when looking for stats on spin and pace.
Embledenia bowls, Root right back into his stumps, a ball that pitched outside leg stump and spun away, like French cricket almost, defending it, no run. So are we saying that's the last time, because you didn't catch in your database, you went back to 1994 for Wasim Iwaka?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, so 2001, was the last time. We thought 1994.
But that's assuming White bowled seam in that game.
Michael and I were talking about this, and we were pretty sure that he bowled pace in that game. Craig White, 37 for 2, but
so
needs some moves there.
Sampson, Andrew Sampson tweeted that, so I think that's probably the last occasion.
Embledenia bowls, forward goes Root, ball runs up the onside of the pitch, and Embledenia picks up. So we can lock the safe on that one now, can we? Now that God has spoken. 37 for 2. Root on 20, right back into stumps again. It looks so risky, but Root it feels as if he's totally in control of his game. Embledenia, the threat to England at the moment. Spins himself a catch and then moves into bowl to Root. It's outside the off stump, push through, Root right back and allows that to go by to Dick Weller. England are 37 for 2. And it looks to me as if drinks are coming onto the field after 16 overs. I'm not sure how many overs are left in the day's play. Still 21 overs left. Or 20 overs. Is it 20 or 21? Anyway, quite a lot to go. So we're going to be going on until 12 o'clock today. And we might not get them all in. I suppose it depends who bowls, really. The podcast will follow after day's play. We'll start on air. You can pick that up later as well if you don't stay with us. Get some reaction to today's play. You better get that on BBC Sounds a bit later on today. You can check out the website as well for news of a big weekend of sport all round, actually, not just in cricket, but lots of other sports as well, with 10 FA Cup commentaries today across 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra.
How's your team getting on, Simon?
Well, I'm not sure if they're going to make it into the commentary rota today. They are one of the FA Cup matches being played today, but I'm not sure they're necessarily going to make it. It's not the most glamorous tie away at Millwall, but there we go. You never know. Small acorns, they can they can grow into big oaks, can't they? When you're looking at an FA Cup semi-final in about 6 weeks' time. Anyway, you can live on and hope. What about where Arsenal doing? What are they doing this weekend?
I think we're playing Southampton,
aren't you?
Yes,
that will be one of the commentaries, I imagine, over the weekend. So drinks on the field. A reminder: Sri Lanka 381 from their first innings. England out there for a best part of 140 overs, with all 10 wickets going to Pace. Anderson 6, Wood 3, and Curran 1, and the spinners 64 overs, 7 maidens, 0 for 195. And then just to rub it in, out comes Emil Denyer and takes 2 quick wickets, knocks the top off England's order. Sibley out for 0 LBW, and Zach Crawley caught a slip by Tidamane for 5, and it does leave England in that situation of going to India with Don Sibley struggling at the top of the order against spin. But we did say, didn't we, that it's not just going to be about spin in India. It's going to be Bumrah and Ishant, and Siraj is in the squad, Thakur's in the squad as well. As far as left arm spinners are concerned for India, they've got Akshay Patel as their left arm spinner with no Jadeja. So
Quality's Jadeja.
Sorry?
Quality Jadeja. That will be a miss for them.
Yeah.
You can just rely on him to zip it in on that sort of good length just outside off stump, quick.
Their spinners are Akshay Patel, Ashwin, Kuldeep Yadav with spinner, and Washington Sundar, the off-break bowler, the all-round. Andy?
Well, to highlight what a big absence Jadeja is for India, in his last 29 tests, that's since the 3rd test against England in November 2016, he's averaging 50.8 with the bat, just over 1,200 runs, average 50.8, 129 wickets, average 24.2 with the ball, and 20 catches. He is statistically one of the finest all-rounders in the history of Test cricket.
Yeah,
doesn't always get in their team though, does he?
I know. It's a good leave out, that is, because as you say, fields like a demon as well, doesn't he? Hoovering most things up that gully area. Great pair of hands as well. Fine all-round performer.
Tempted to think that India could put out 2 decent teams that would compete well in Test match cricket. I suppose effectively they did, didn't they, against Australia with all those changes.
Who was the fellow who got a triple hundred?
Karan Nair.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Never seen again, was he?
No, he's now driving a bus in Delhi. No, he's not. He's still playing. But it is the point, isn't it? He comes, makes 300, and then now he sort of fades away a bit.
Yeah. Very strong at the moment, the Indian team.
Here is Pereira into the attack, and his first ball is nearly a wicket. It was short outside the off stump. Bairstow's eyes lit up. All right, cracked this square with the wicket, and he missed it, and it went through to Dick Weller. I'm just going to look up Karan Nair to see what he's doing. What he's doing in his cricket career. He made 300 and 750. That's full. Bairstow drives and gets off a thick inside edge and goes away into the onside.
Good line here from Pereira. That tiger line, sort of 5th, 6th stump, tossing it up outside the off stump. Good curve on it as well. Good sort of drift away from the right hand, alluring Bairstow into a flamboyant off drive. Nearly spun back between the gate.
Karan Nair cricket update.
Go on, what's he up to?
He's still playing, as you'd expect. Bairstow gets one, spins back in, strikes him outside the line of off stump, but good from Pereira. Okay, his last first-class match was in February 2020. He made 3 and 6 against Bengal, but he's been playing some 2020 since then. He actually played on the 18th of January for Karnataka against Uttar Pradesh. He made 21. He's played a whole handful of 2020 games this month. Bairstow gets a very full ball, which normally you drive, and he went to sweep it, and he didn't make decent contact, struck him on the pad outside the line of off stump.
England are looking to employ the sweep, aren't they? Both of these players are.
I mean, normally you drive that when you Tuffers.
Yes,
you normally drive that ball, but they're trying to take that out the drive because they think it's a high risk shot.
Yeah, try and play him with the cross bat.
Pereira bowls, Bairstow right back and holds the bat inside the line. He was tempted to play, and you can hear Dick Weller. He's excited out there.
Yeah, straight on up.
The prospect of seeing off Bairstow. It's been a good first over from Pereira.
Yeah.
And having to adjust to the off-break bowler. Bairstow batting on. Was he batting off stump just outside? And he pulls away. He might have got a bit of sweat in his eye or a fly or something.
Who did that to Graham Swan? Got 300 at the Oval, batting outside off stump on a
Hashim
real...
Amla.
Hashim Amla played it beautifully, didn't he? But virtually his feet on off stump.
Did they get about 600 for 2
they
or
did.
something?
Yeah, they did slowly.
37 for 2. Pereira bowls. Dabbed away by Bairstow. Down towards Tiramani at slip. And there's no run. That was a good first over from Pereira. It's a maiden. England have been out there for 17 overs. It's 37 for 2.
Yeah, pressure's on here, England. Both of these spinners bowling nicely. The pitch has just worn a bit. As we said, you can almost set your watch by it. Last session on the second day, things just start happening. The odd one's just skipped on there from that fresh new ball that he's got in his hand. Well, a little bit of natural variation. One just misses the seam and skids on, like the arm ball or the straight oner. One just bites into that pitch and spins viciously. So, tricky time for England here.
Just on Karen Nair, he's actually not made a score of more than 30
since 330.
Well, since last February. This one slipped by me actually. I didn't do these 2 games, but in the IPL, he did play a little bit for Kings 11 in the IPL. He made 15 not out in one game against RCB and 1 against the Delhi Capitals and another in early September, and then drifted out as the tournament progressed. Is Dan ready to pick up the commentary? 37 for 2. There we go, Dan.
Born ready, Simon. You know me.
Oh, yes.
37 for 2 indeed. And it's our first sighting in Test cricket with the ball of Ramesh Mendis, whose debut hasn't gone quite according to plan. He was out earlier today for a duck. Caught down the leg side very well by Butler, diving to his left off wood. He'd love to get on the score sheet in another way with a wicket here.
Never seen him bowl. Must be interested.
Off spin into root. It's a short leg. He goes back into his crease and pushes Mendis's first ball in Test cricket out to deep mid wicket for a single. And tough as you are, you were like somebody on the prow of a ship there.
Yes, well,
an off spinner on the prow of a ship.
Looks like an off who stands up tall. Not a great run up, but just gets his oomph from his pivot and then he sort of follow through. Not a crabby spinner, but one who looks to pick sort of Jim Lakery. Just reminded me there, 1 ball. Things could change very quickly. I've only seen him for 1 ball.
There's a first class average, I think, of 38. He's in. Got high action down the leg side, turning into the gloves of Dick Weller as Bairstow doesn't really play a shot at it. Goes deep into his crease. The distinction between Root and Bairstow, the way they're playing, and between Sibley particularly, we didn't see actually a great deal of Crawley against Embal Denyer. He was caught at slip pretty early on in their duel. Is that they do get right back in the crease to Bairstow and Root, and Bairstow does to this ball and clips it hard into the ground at short leg fields. There's no run. 38 for 2 England. Root 21, Bairstow 12. Trying to recover from the early loss of their openers for the 3rd innings in succession.
He's got both times, Embal Denyer, hasn't he?
He's got all 6 wickets, so the openers 3 times.
Yeah.
Back into his crease again goes Bairstow and works this ball from outside off stump out to deep mid wicket for a single. 39 for 2.
For not many.
6 for 7.
6 for 7.
Oh. Yes, it's quite the record.
Yes. Lovely.
It's quite the record, but
is that called having the wood over someone?
Well, he's got the wood over them, but as Andy Zoltzman points out, what are his figures now against the rest of England? They're one for 100 and plenty. Tossed up by Mendis, and Root, despite the fact the ball was really quite full, goes right back into his crease and defends into the onside. The method in such contrast to that which was employed by Sibley. Do-do. Ron. It's that time of day, isn't it? Sweep from a Root connects nicely out to deep backward square leg for 4.
Well, I'll sit next to an owl there for a minute.
Well, 43 for 2. An owl, I'll take that.
Yes, wise, very wise.
Our batsmen, what I'm blushingly groping for is I'm trying to ask, is it reasonable for a batsman who's got to the very top of their profession to turn to another batsman at the top of their profession and say, can I make a suggestion? You know the way I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
Do you want to try doing that a little bit more? Or is that just not done?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. If anything, it's up to perhaps the Sibley and the Crawley to go to Joe Root. Obviously, there's coaches there and analysis and everything, which they'll all be taken in and being sort of drip fed, so it's not sort of like rammed down your throat. But I'd be watching Joe Root in the spinner's net every time he goes in there, and then after he comes out and sits down and has a glass of water, be talking to him.
Pereira is in, and that's full outside the off stump, driven by Bairstow, who holds the post, but he misses the ball. Goes through to the keeper, and there's no run. Start of this new over from Pereira. England are 43 for 2. Root is looking good. Bairstow also looking quite good until that ball just drifted. just completely missed it. Curious. It's Pereira again, and there's no turn really as Bairstow goes back into his stumps and just pushes the ball into the offside. There's no run.
Bowling a lovely line here, first couple of overs, Pereira. That, let's just say, 18 inches outside off stump. He's attacking both edges. Bowled a little bit too straight in that first Test match, didn't he? Just got knocked into the leg side. He's obviously had a little think about it, and he's just decided to try and pull the English batsman wider of off stump.
Here's Pereira again, and Bairstow, who's now batting on or just outside off stump to counter this, comes forward and defends a full ball, and there's no run. He's tried to stop being too leg side of the red ball, if you like, but he's now gone right the way over, like Hashim Amla did. I think we were talking about it earlier, to try to negate Graham Swan. As Pereira is in, Bairstow's well outside off stump as he sweeps this hard, nicely down to the boundary for 4. It's a wonderful positive shot from Bairstow. He's making life very difficult for the off spinner here, because where do you bowl when the batsman's standing on just outside off stump?
And this is the whole thing about field placings here. I mentioned it earlier when Simon was on commentary. You've got it. England have made it pretty obvious that they're looking to get the old broom out, play lots of sweep shots to the spin bowlers, bring one across from the offside, leave that gap perhaps on the cut or the extra cover drive. And just try and stop them playing that release shot sweep.
47 for 2, back into his crease goes Bairstow once more and plays this ball gently into the onside, picked up at mid-wicket. There's no run. Bairstow has 17 now.
Sometimes you just put a man there to stop a shot, to create another shot. If you know what I mean.
Chess, this, isn't
yes,
it?
It is. I know. It's great fun sometimes, especially when it's turning.
Pereira in, completes the over, fully forward comes Bairstow, smothers the ball, rolls into the onside, ended the over. England 47 for 2, Root 25. Bairstow has 17. And you could find actually Tuffers' masterclass on the text commentary on the website or app, where Tuffers, you were talking exactly about how Embledenio, how his arm comes from slightly wider, whereas Leach, the release point's a bit wider, and Leach is over the top, and that turns the right-handed batsman around, makes it harder for them to hit the ball into the offside.
And also it brings on the one, especially from the left arm, that just skids on. You can't then just go back, and with all the time in the world, because if from that sort of angle of coming in, if it doesn't turn, that can go on with the arm, get you LBW or bowled.
Which is what
just keeps you on. Yes, exactly. It can just keeps you honest.
Like to keep your batters honest, don't you? Mendes is in, and that's swept fine by Root down through the egrets, not literally. They've flown away, but down to the boundary for 4 more. England's 50 is up. It's a different game when Root and Bairstow are batting from Sibley and Crawley against the spinners. He moves to 29, does Root, with that sweep, which he got very fine indeed.
Yeah, this is where the skipper's got to help his spin bowlers out here. You've got to start setting fields, because no batsman likes to go, right, okay, you go on the 45, and even if you're a confident sweeper of the ball, you don't then next ball want to sweep one. And it, oh, you know what I mean? You feel, yeah, you go, yeah. So it kind of then takes that shot slightly out of your armoury.
Mendes in again, and that's turned sharply back into Root. Gets in a bit of a tangle, but it bounces down in front of short leg. There's no run. These two Yorkshiremen have put on 46 from 73 balls, and they came together. The score was 5 for 2 after 7.1 overs, which is quite remarkable, isn't it? Now then,
similar to the first test.
Very similar.
Early wickets, and then
another sweep from Root. There's a big, loud appeal, yearning one from Mendes. The ball has run away down to the boundary. Now I don't think that the umpire's going to signal for a while, because he's going to wait to see if the Sri Lankans want to refer. The DRS time has gone down to 6. It was another sweep shot from Root. It can look perilous, but he's connected with them for the most part, and well, it won't be referred. And now we'll wait to see 50 partnerships come up. But let's take a look. There's a bit of under edge, very last minute
scuffer.
Saving England's captain. That takes him into the 30s. Dick Weller with a fantastic appeal.
Yeah, he does.
I really approve of that. Full and worked into the onside. Where it goes straight to mid-wicket. There's no run. I've got to bring you news. There are 10 FA Cup commentaries on 5 Live and here on 5 Live Sports Extra, including League 2 Cheltenham, who are at home to Manchester City this afternoon. That's hugely exciting. I know Tuffers is thrilled at that prospect. Cheltenham. Is that the game? They've never played each other, I think.
I'm not sure. There's a chance.
You can get all the details on the BBC Sport website and app, where you'll also find the text commentary, of course, of this match. So, England have advanced to 55 for 2. Root 33, Bairstow 17. A bit of a break in play, but now Mendes. Ball in hand again, reverse sweep from Root. And again the egrets scatter, and again he gets 4. This is a masterclass in batting from Root. He's just gone on from his double century here in the last game. He's got to 37 from 45 balls, and poor old Ramesh Mendes, he's not bowled badly. He's gone for 18 runs off his first 11 balls in Test cricket to go with the duck he picked up on debut. It's a harsh day for the debutant.
And this is where it then gets tricky, when the batsman starts playing shots like that, because you kind of have to have a man there for that, even if he's only going to play it half a dozen times in an innings.
Well, we've had swept 4, under edge swept 4, which was a little streaky,
slog swept,
and then reverse sweep.
Yeah.
So he's
all the sweeps,
full array of sweeps. If he could sweep it straight back over the bowler's head, that would be something else.
That would be like a bunt sweep. Just nudge it over his head.
Well, he's going round the wicket, and he's dragged the ball down, and he's been slapped away down to deep backward square leg, where Asitha Fernando is patrolling. And Root will keep strike. 13 runs off the over. Root to 38. England 60 for 2 after that horrifying start. 20 overs have been bowled. We've had an email from Brian Botcherby.
Oh, lovely. BB.
Today is the 92nd birthday of Ian Thompson, the oldest living England men's test player.
Wow, happy birthday.
A proud and loyal Sussex man who played 5 test matches towards the end of his career and was unlucky to have Truman and Statham in their pomp as his contemporaries.
Yeah,
that would have been tricky. That would have been hard to get in past those two. 307 and 252 wickets. He achieved 12 county championship 100-wicket seasons for Sussex.
Wow.
Over a 14-year career, and was man of the match in the 1964 Gillette Cup final. Ian is a cousin of one of my closest friends, who tells me that he retains both his enormous modesty and an encyclopedic knowledge of county cricket in the 50s and 60s. Well, Ian Thompson, if you're listening, very happy birthday. And Brian Botcherby, if you're listening, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
That's when they used to have big old crowds, wasn't it? In those,
the Gillette Cup, yes. Quite beery.
Yes,
but Lancashire, la la la, would start.
And Somerset, la la la.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was their very distinctly different chant, wasn't it? Yeah. Pereira in. That's defended from the crease by Root. Picked up by Dick Weller. There's no run. Do you want a last comment on the day's play, and then we'll send you home?
Yeah, well, looking forward to it. Trial by spin for England, isn't it? Going to be. And these two guys, pretty decent players of it. So looking forward to seeing how it all transpires.
Well, we've got a potentially tense 50 minutes, although the way Root and Bairstow are playing, they're sort of trying to take the tension out of it. We're going to let Tuffers make his way off. It's been a long, hard day. The young man who's first up today. First on. Pereira in, sweep again from Root. It connects so well with these shots and sends it down to Kushal Pereira down at deep backward square leg for a single. He moves to 39, England to 61 for 2. Michael Vaughan's joined us. Before we go to him, Andy Zoltzman, you're waving from your shed.
You asked the update on the Embledenia stats. 6 for 7 against England's openers, now 1 for 214 against the rest of the team, predominantly Root, who has dominated him so far.
Pereira in, and now Bairstow sweeping firmly, vigorously, really well. Good diving stop out on the boundary by Embledenia, prevents it going all the way to the boundary. Bairstow gets a single for that. Both these players are sweeping really well, Michael Vaughan.
Yeah.
Root's barely put a sweep wrong, if you like.
Yeah, and this is where the captain of Sri Lanka has to react. I mean, I heard Tuffers mention about the fields, and he's absolutely spot on.
Pereira in, and Root leaves that. There's a shrieked appeal from Dick Weller. He really likes that. I don't quite know why, because it was wide outside the off stump. It hit on the top of Root's knee roll and bounced high in the air.
He's thinking of this, you know.
He is thinking of this. He likes it. Is it because it's Root? Surely it's too high. They've gone for it. Well, look, I might be completely wrong, but I don't think this is a particularly good review.
And the umpire starts laughing as well. It's
but it was wide of the off stump. He didn't play a shot, crucially, so this is... and there'll be no bat involved, so it should be relatively short and painless, this process. Just have to wait for ball tracking.
I think he did ask the umpire whether he'd played a shot, and I think umpire Damasceno says no.
Well, I think we could see he wasn't playing a shot. Well, it's come off knee roll, rolled up onto elbow. He's got a long, long way outside the off stump.
Ridiculous review.
I mean, that doesn't in itself mean he can't be out if the ball turns sharply back, but height, you'd think, would be a bit of an issue. 62 for 2, England. I don't think they're awaiting the result of this with too much nervousness, Michael.
Oh, the camera's back on Mickey Arthur. I think they always know that when there's a mistake or something's not quite right, the camera goes straight on Mickey Arthur.
Here we go. Well, yes, to say that review's lost, and they should probably lose their other two as punishment, because
they should.
The ball was absolutely going nowhere near the off stump. It looked like it at first sight, and it's been confirmed.
That's just stupidity, Dan.
High and wide of off stump. It is insane, isn't it?
Well, why? He stood at first slip, the captain. Got probably the best view other than the wicket keeper and the bowler. Just burnt a review for his team. We all know how important reviews are.
Well, we saw England not take a review of Pereira, which cost them, after having done a rather foolish one in the same over, when the ball was clearly pitching outside leg and wasn't going to go on to hit the stumps. And I think that affected their previous review. Pereira's into Root sweeping. You'll hear me say that quite a bit. And he sweeps it down to Kushal Pereira down at deep backward square leg for another single. 63 for 2. Root to 40 off 50 balls.
Yeah, this is where they've got to react, though, Sri Lanka, because it's clearly an England play. You've almost got to say to Joe, right, we'll open up down the ground for you. We're going to completely nullify square of the wicket sweep shots. You say to you can hit it down towards mid-on, mid-off and create a gap, because it's clearly been the tactic of the England pair, just to get down low, sweep, go with the tide, go with the spin. Played it so well so far, but if you nullified that and asked them to do something different, you might get an opportunity.
Well, there's one ball left in this over. We've seen off spin at both ends. I don't know how long that'll go on. He's coming round the wicket as Pereira, and Bairstow goes deep into his crease and pushes off the back foot, square the wicket on the offside, straight to the field at end of the over. The 21st of the innings. England going along nicely after the loss of those two early wickets. Sibley for a duck, Crawley for 5, both to Embledenia. They were 5 for 2 at that stage, and after 7.1 overs, they're now 63 for 2, these two Yorkshiremen, having added 58 runs in pretty good time as well. 14 overs. It's a good counter-attack, isn't it, Michael? Because England were really teetering at 5 for 2.
Yeah, I mean, this is a cameo so far from the England captain, 40 from 50 balls, but it's just been a masterclass of how to just turn the tide of, that's the way he's rolling, and
I thought that was rather beautiful
against the
imagery
rocks.
on your
Yes.
part. That
Marvellous. Well done, the producer there. I think it's been a masterclass in just turning the tide of pressure. He's gone out there and played with what he feels is, a tactic against the spinners. He's backed himself. It's now turned to Sri Lanka to going back to the seamers because he's dominated the spin so much. So Sri Lanka are being asked a question or two. It's going to be best just having some rather large tablets. Not too sure what that's for. Maybe a bit of
anti-cramp, maybe salt tablets, perhaps.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, it is
like that.
Incredibly sapping, and Root and Bairstow have been out in the field for
looks very
the best
red,
part of
Johnny,
2
doesn't
days.
he?
Well, I mean, that's not entirely unusual, but yes, he's looking redder than normal. I don't think it's a surprise. The heat is sapping, and it must be tough for these two because, well, they've basically had 7 overs of break, haven't they?
Yeah.
And Root will have had his pads on from the moment the innings started, so
it didn't take long for them to both be out there, but they're such good players of spin. They're very committed in their mindset of the way that they want to play, very quick in their thought, pick up length quickly, quick with their feet, commit to the strokes. They particularly Joe Root. I mean, he's game against spin. Any young right-hander who wants to learn how to play spin, just have a look at the last 50 deliveries. It's just been a masterclass of how to play the turning ball.
A little word for Ramesh Mendis, because I feel for him. He's been whipped out of the attack after bowling 2 overs for 19 and getting a duck. In his first day really in Test cricket, didn't get the opportunity to show himself yesterday. Fernando's in, starts a new over. Root covers up in defence on the back foot. Andy, you had your waving at me.
Well, I was looking at Ramesh Mendis, slightly moot now that he's out of the attack, but not spectacular first-class figures. Has improved in recent years, and in his first 22 first-class matches averaged 76 with the ball. Since then, pretty much dead on 30, but he's not really a front-line spinner, much more of a batting all-rounder. Got some stats on Joe Root's sweeping as well from the CricViz database.
So we'll have that after this ball. Fernando will bowl it. The quick bowler runs in to Root, and Root just defends really solidly on the front foot, bat and pad close together. What have you got on sweeping?
As in the time covered by their database goes back to 2006, the sort of ball-by-ball tracking data, in which they keep a record of all the shots played. Root's played 477 sweep shots in Test cricket in their database. Only Yunus Khan and Misbah-ul-Haq have played more, and Root's about to overtake Misbah during the course of this innings, just one behind him currently. Root averages 62 playing the sweep shot, and is also one of the most effective attacking players when using the sweep.
We'll come back to that in a second as Fernando is in full, very full, and Root digs it out, but a bit more than digs it out, quite elegantly. Drives it up to mid-on, there's no run.
His run rate against sweep shots is 11 per over. So that works out around about 180 per 100 balls. So it shows that when he plays the sweep shot, he generally scores from it. Scores from 77% of the balls of the sweeps he attempts. He scores from, which is one of the best of the 27 players who've played 200 or more sweep shots in that time. So one of the finest exponents.
He should be sweeping Pat Cummins. That's obviously the key. Fernando in, that's played with an angled bat by Root into the offside square of the wicket. There's no run.
So that includes sweeps, what they categorise as sweeps, reverse sweeps and slog sweeps.
So he does get out to playing the shot though, evidently.
There's 14 times in their database, but his dot ball percentage on the sweep shot, 22%. Only Yunus Khan and fractionally Azhar Ali have a lower dot ball percentage. So almost 4 out of 5 sweeps he attempts, he scores runs from.
That is hugely impressive, isn't it? Here is Fernando. 2 balls left in this over. He's kept Root quiet in it so far. Root just works this into the onside as a huge appeal for LBW. The ball's hit him above the knee roll again, probably going down. Chandimal's not interested, neither's Dick Weller on this occasion. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it, Michael? After the absolutely ludicrous review in the over before, where they went for one that was clearly not out, that one had a bit more going for it, and it feels to me that Oh yes, it's high and it's hit the thigh pad and it's going down, but probably not missing by as much as the one that they did review. I think they might be slightly chastened on the previous one.
Yeah, England had a bad one earlier in the day as well, didn't they? Jack
They
Leach.
did. Yep.
A couple of inches, it pitched outside leg stump.
And the review they didn't take, which may yet prove costly. Fernando in to complete the over. Root defends solidly into the offside. Again, bat and pad close together. A maiden over from Fernando. Root has 40. Bairstow has 18. England 63 for 2. They're 318 runs behind Sri Lanka's first innings of 381 all out. Jonathan Agnew has returned to his attic, which is my cue to return to tooting Beck.
Excellent. Well, you go back carefully. Down to some pretty ordinary weather around, I think, at the moment. Not in Gaul, I'm pleased to say, though, because I can see the sun peeking through some cloud over the ocean, and we should get these 40 minutes or so that remain in today. I think England might take the light if it were offered to them. 63 for 2, 318 runs behind. They've got a lot of batting to go yet if they're to get themselves in a position of, well, certainly winning this test match, alone trying to save it. 318 behind. Root 40, Bairstow 18. It has looked a bit of a different game with these two batting. Good footwork, positive mindset. And Pereira is moving in and bowling, and Bairstow's thumped him down the ground, and that's one bounce and into the ropes for 4 runs. So that's what I was saying, really, Michael.
Yeah, that's tremendous thought. I'm just trying to see the field. I haven't seen the field, whether they just changed something. So Johnny went, you know what, you might have put a fielder there, but I can also take you downtown as well. Just commitment. Saw a bit of flight, quick with his feet, quick with his mindset. Yeah, this has been a real pressure shift, hasn't it, inside like 10 overs, 12 overs, where England were under so much pressure, and all of a sudden this pair have gone, we're going to try and turn the tide, and they have done.
It's interesting watching it too, because when they were bowling, albeit briefly, at Sibley and Crawley, it felt as if they were bowling grenades, and you're just expecting a wicket to fall at any moment just by the way that it was being played. And I think Crawley got a good ball, incidentally. I'm not going to criticise him for that, but it's just how it looks too, and how
it's that
how
fine
well
balance, though, isn't it, Aggers? That they play too aggressively and they give a wicket away. Yes. You just know as soon as someone new comes out there, it'll be the same again.
Yeah.
So important that this pair are not out overnight.
There's a way to go yet. 35 minutes. Pereira, who batted very well earlier on, bowls, and Bairstow's on the back foot, pushing this one away for Dick Weller to come and field from behind the stumps. I think Chandimal's best to ignore Dick Weller's advice on reviews. It's one of those wicketkeepers who just, quite right, he's a big encourager, isn't he, of his bowlers, but he takes it the extra mile by insisting that everything's probably out. It's down the leg side, that turned a bit more. Dick Weller couldn't get a glove on it. That'll run away towards that fine leg boundary, pursued by Matthews.
Why is it, Aggers, that within 22.3 overs of the Sri Lankan bowling innings, the ball is starting to take chunks out of the pitch?
Do they rip it a bit harder?
I think it must be that they just put more revolutions on the ball.
Yeah.
We kind of, when we bowl spin, it rolls out, doesn't it? Look at that.
Yeah.
Big puffer duft.
It is. It's like playing battleships, that one. C4, boom.
Destroyed.
Up it goes. 69 for 2, and that keeps it lower. Bairstow can play it with the tide, the turn into the onside to mid-wicket. Doggies are back after their walk. Hello, boys. It's that time of day already, is it? I know. Very good news. Hopefully Tino won't say anything over the next few minutes. But, excited to be back. 69 for 2. I know, boys, I know. Half an hour to go. 312 behind. And Bairstow's fiddling with his gloves. Sweaty and hot. He always looks as if he'd done a day's work when he'd been in the field or batted for a while in Sri Lanka. Checks his guard. 22 not out. He's faced 42 balls. 69 for 2. Ready now. As Pereira tosses this one up. He drives. Just a little uppishly, but a bit of bottom hand in that. But he's hurt Pereira's hand though. His left hand. With a stinger. Got a smile on his face, but he's had a pretty good day actually, the old off spinner.
Yeah, he batted really well, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what happened. He went down in the long barrier, And then it must have been another detonation. It shot straight up, hit him on the chin, poor fellow. No wonder he was a bit startled. I think he's okay. Goes in and bowls again. And Bairstow very carefully, grittily plays that back up the pitch, and there's no run. 69 for 2. Route 40. Bairstow 22. And the men out: Sibley 0, Crawley 5. So that's what, 28 runs between them in 6 innings. Yeah.
Got a question for you.
Go on.
Johnny Bairstow continues to play in the fashion that he's playing, and he went to the management and said, look, let me stay and let me play the first 2 in India. What do you reckon would happen? Or do you think he kind of triggered them to think that he needed to be out of the bio?
I have to be honest with you, I have no idea. But
what would happen? Do you think, is there a remit that they could change the squad? Because at the minute, you know, England have got a couple of openers that are really struggling against spin. You've got Rory Burns coming back in to the squad, who's not been playing any cricket. The only top 3 member of the England setup who looks to be playing with calmness and control is Johnny Bairstow. Yet he's not going to be starting against the best team in the world in a week or so's time.
The Bairstow story is by far the most interesting of all of that, isn't it? The whole question of going back. Let's watch Root waiting for Fernando over the wicket and bowls, and he's played out towards cover. We know how frustrated he's been to have lost his test place, how desperately he wants it back, how he's always feeling he's batting up and down and all over the place, and he's sort of put where England want him and left out when they don't want him, and you know, he's obviously had a few issues. So he plays so well, and it's been decided that he's going home. And not only that, but while he's at home, it looks as if folks will keep wicket, which is also something else that Johnny Bairstow wants to get back. I mean, it's very odd, isn't it?
Does Johnny know that we're in lockdown and he can't do anything when he comes home?
I don't know.
He's in the best bubble of the lot. At least he's around people, can have a bit of a chuckle and play some cricket.
Yeah, there's the next one, turned away by Root out to mid-wicket. The murder of crows takes off and scatters. They take one more run. Has
he been watching the news and he knows what's happening in the UK?
Yeah, I think you're possibly right. I mean, it's just the fact that he has once again stuck his chest out and said, right, you want to bat at 3? I'll do anything to play for England, which is what he wants to do, and he's done it. And then he's going home. Now, did he ask to go home? That we don't know, do we? I mean,
that's the question, and it's the question that, you know, if you get to interview, and I'm sure you'll ask.
Ed Smith did say that they can revisit these decisions.
I think they may be doing so.
But if they review Johnny Bairstow, then how does he not? You know, you've got the Ben Foakes business of keeping wicket, which they've obviously decided they want to do. Does it make it easier for the selectors? It's Fernando bowling, and that's played firmly by Bairstow. If those first couple of tests in India, at least they've got Crawley, Burns, Sibley.
Fundamentally, because you're going to get to play against the best team in the world. Again, it's in my opinion, but on the home soil, you just look at India's record, they're near on impossible to beat. You want to arrive with your best players and your best team, surely, for that first test, at least.
Totally agree.
And if you've got Rory Burns who's not playing, you've got Crawley and Sibley who are going to be so low in confidence. Arriving, and that could be your top 3, Burns, Crawley and Sibley, unless you decide that Pope's fit and he bats 3, or Dan Lawrence bats at 3. It just doesn't make sense.
Fernando scurries up and bowls short, and Bairstow turns that round the corner to mid-wicket. I mean, in a way, you wonder why they had to announce it before this Test match. Why didn't they say, well, look, obviously, you know, those 3 are returning. They'll be arriving in India on whatever date, and we'll be announcing what happens this end after this Test match. I mean, they could have just bought themselves a bit of time, couldn't they? Talked it through, see how people were after this game.
I guess logistically and booking flights, etc., etc. But I'm presuming that they're going on a charter, are they? I don't think it'll be a normal commercial flight. They'll have their own plane.
No, there's some word of those coming out flying on a commercial.
I think, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, and I think Rory Burns. I think I read that.
Well, you couldn't really charter a plane just for 3 people, I don't suppose. That's a lively bouncer from Fernando.
Although I did see there was a chartered private jet for the Big Bash crew that went from South Africa to Australia. You know, the likes of Liam Livingston was on that. I think Lewis Gregory, Owen Morgan, the captain jumped on to get to Australia. That would have been a chunky price, wouldn't it?
I think it would. Nice little Learjet or something.
Well, the good thing about this is your pal, the skipper Joe Root, been talking about the Moose Cup and getting both his hands on the antler. Well, he's fighting for it, isn't he? He's scrapping for the moose.
He could still have one antler, but he wants to grab it by both. 70 for 2. He's still there fighting away. 41. Bairstow's 22. And here's Fernando bowling just short of a length, and Bairstow again is in that positive frame of mind. Not just a defensive back foot shot that, but with a little bit of oomph into it as well. The ball goes out to cover. And there's no run. 70 for 2. 24 overs gone. England made a horrible start. They were 5 for 2. Worth remembering that Sri Lanka was 7 for 2. And of course, they went on to make 381. Jimmy Anderson finishing with 6 wickets. There were 3 for Mark Wood. None for the England's spinners. So that and the lack of pressure. I mean, we've talked. I think we've been fair about talking about the lack of preparation and the lack of cricket that they've had, but that doesn't alter the fact that they've got to bowl better than they are. You can make perhaps a reason for why they're not bowling very well at the moment, but they are going to have to bowl better than this.
Yeah.
If they're going to have success in India.
How do you get more revolutions though in the space of a week? Kind of roll the ball out the fingers.
Yeah.
Whereas the Sri Lankan spinners are really spinning it out the fingers.
Because Pereira bowls down the leg side. Dick Weller's after it again. Well, that would have hit another set, I don't think. He shot down the leg side to collect the ball and then jumped back in again to do the appeal. But, he's very enthusiastic. He missed out on 100 today, which seemed to be there for the taking. His first Test century. But Chandimal's not convinced. And Pereira moves in again over the wicket and bowls. That swept again by Roots, hit it hard out to deep square leg. Fielder up there gets down his hands and knees, throws it back in.
Yeah, I think Sri Lanka for Joe Root need a square leg catching. So you have your 45 for the top edge, you have your square leg on the boundary for the hard sweep, but a square leg, this ball and the way that he's sweeping it, he's going about a yard off the ground in the air, but the fielder's on the boundary. LBW just sneaking down the leg side by a couple of inches, like they didn't review.
Pereira tosses this one up. Root smothers it. Plays into the offside. He's smiling. He's having a conversation there. He's chatting away maybe to Dick Weller. Maybe they're old friends. Some sort of conversation going on.
You always have a chat with the keeper when the spinners are on. There's always plenty of chirp.
Yeah, he had a chat with Embledenia earlier as well, didn't he? When he tried to knock him over a second time. That was quite feisty. 72 for 2. Pereira floats it up. Root sweeps again. This time there's no run from him as that just goes to short fine leg. Sort of on the edge of a fielding circle, I guess, in one-day cricket that would be. 72 for 2. Root on 43. His fielder is just loving this contest. Staring through his helmet, waiting now. Oh, the reverse sweeps come out, and very, very successfully too. 4 runs down through third man. Turned out to be a bit of a gift. I don't know if he knew it was going to be quite so late he played the shot, but it was a full toss really. Just a perfect place to play that shot.
He's just so balanced, whether he's playing the conventional sweep, the reverse sweep. Doesn't reverse the feet like you see some players when they play the switch it, the reverse sweep. He just stays with the conventional movement, that left foot going down the pitch. Not a big movement. I think sometimes when people sweep they get too big a stride in and it reduces their ability to get the hands out in front. Another chat with Dick Weller.
Yeah, they're both laughing. They're going to telling jokes. There's the next one floated up. It's driven away out to long on. They're both making each other laugh, aren't they?
Just that little thing there. Joe's just played a very straightforward punch down the ground for a simple single. You know, you very rarely see Joe hit the ball over the top. So surely Sri Lanka would be better off bringing the field up at mid-off and mid-on and saying, all right, Joe, there's the chance there if you want to go downtown. Because he very rarely plays it. He wants to just carry on sweeping.
25 minutes to go of play today. England recovering from 5 for 2, both openers out, and both to the left arm spinner again, so that'll certainly provoke a talking point or two, I'd imagine. Certainly for our review of the day, our podcast later. I'm not sure who Who are we interviewing today? Do we know yet? Who will be popping up in the course of that? Mark Wood's popping up. That'll be entertaining.
Yes.
Just after 12 o'clock. He'll always have a story to tell. But he put his heart and soul into his bowling out there yesterday and today. And ended up with 3 wickets too, which I think he thoroughly deserved. Buldenia then is returning. He took the 2 early wickets. He's taken 2 for 16. Swings the arm and moves in and bowls to Root. Oh, a real rank loosener. A slip in a gully and a short leg, but that's a full toss around about knee high. And flicked away out to mid-wicket by Root. He'll come back for a couple. That was a nice gift. Root goes to 50.
Yeah, brilliant innings, 65 balls. But I think this is a lesson to all the England players that, he's been so busy and controlled that the Sri Lankan spinners have shown the lack of inexperience. When he's hit them for a few, he's had so many more full tosses because he's putting them under pressure. Randy Caddick, he's on the 4 again on his phone.
He's got Mary Poppins with his umbrella up there. 79 for 2. Buldenia moves in bowls. And Root comes forward this time. So Andy will have it. But the last double centurion and half-century scorer for England was...
Give me a couple of minutes.
Oh, I thought you'd be all over it.
65 balls for his 50, 7 fours. It's his...
He's sweeping that away too, out towards
Cookie, isn't it?
the leg side boundary. And they take one more. Is it Alistair Cook? He's keeping a low profile there. He's not sticking his hand up. No, he's shaking his head.
This is a 68th score of 50 or more in Test cricket. Has 1800s amongst that, and his 5th against Sri Lanka, 3 centuries, including that double in the last Test.
I see those fingers whirring over his keyboard. Good question. I wonder if anyone else can think of it out there in TMS land.
There's a few more on the fort there, Maggers.
Yes, there are.
Sri Lankan supporters with a flag, 4 of them.
The flag up. Lovely place to sit and watch.
That's Percy, isn't it?
No, Percy, I'm afraid, hasn't been very well.
Are you sure that wasn't him on the right?
Well, apparently he's had a stroke. This is outside the off stump. Bairstow lets it go by. He's resting up. He's on good form. He said Russell Arnold says he phones him every night. Just a family gathering by the look of it. Someone's tossed up. You can see it hit that dust, can't you?
Sri Lankan top on with Tony Gregg on the front.
Yeah. 80 for 2. Bairstow fiddles with his gloves. There's 2 balls to go in the over. Wherever they are, getting themselves on television a lot.
Well, you've got a good chance if you arrive to watch this game.
Yeah. Get all sorts up there, iguanas, monks, everything. Fantastic. 80 for 2, and Buldenia bowls and spins a little, and it's the same sort of ball that Bairstow almost gave a return catch to early in his innings. This one is knocks away. There's no alarms, there's 1 ball to go in the over, and his ultimate still checking for that stat. As this last ball of the over is short enough for Bairstow to go back to and play out to extra cover. So thank you, Michael, very much indeed. We'll catch you later on. Alistair Cook, I wonder if he's got the last England double centurion and the 50 scorer in the same game, I wonder. And Simon Mann's coming in after you. Or maybe has Andy got it?
Well, in the same series or back a double
match.
century followed by a 50?
Same game, yeah.
But this is not the same game, Angus.
Oh, I was talking nonsense.
Well, so he got double 100 in the last game, didn't he?
Good night, everybody. I'm off bed.
All blends into one.
Away there in his attic, in his dressing gown. No, he's changed out of his dressing gown. There we go. 20 minutes to play on this second day. It's been an interesting day's cricket today. It really has. Yesterday was a bit of a grind, but today the to and fro, the early wickets, Sri Lanka fighting back, then a couple of wickets and a bit more resistance, and then England finally wrapping up the innings for 381 with Pereira making 67, Dick Weller 92, Anderson 6 for 40, Wood 3 for 84. England losing 2 quick ones to Buldenia, and then Root and Bairstow fighting back. It's been an excellent day's cricket, I would suggest, Alistair.
It has. A bit of a grind kind of for Sri Lanka when they batted, but It's so important, those extra runs they've got, and these two have just shown actually it is still a very good wicket to bat on. And Joe Root is he's on this tour. He's been in fantastic form. Got 70 on the not out in a warm-up game amongst himself, and obviously double 100 last week. He's just carried on. He's so hard to bowl at as a spinner, because he's got every option kind of covered. His sweeps are both sides of the wicket. As soon as you can play the reverse sweep as well, with the low risk that he tends to appear, the captain Chandimal hasn't got enough fielders to cover it. He's always got an option. I think Vaughan, summed it up, would like to maybe bring mid-on up, maybe have a square leg, try and give him a different boundary option to see whether he changes game. But Joe is his world-class player, should just carry on building that momentum, and he's scoring at a good lick, where Sri Lanka struggled to score at 2.5 runs and over. He's going on at almost strike rate 75.
He's got 51 or 67 balls. You've just seen his pitch map, his wagon wheel, and there's one single down the ground. Here is Pereira going into bowl to Root. He sweeps again. There's an appeal for LBW. I think he got some battle now. Might have scuffed it away towards short fine leg. He has not scored a single run between third man and mid-on. Now, Sri Lanka, are they going to review this? What do they think? Chandimal's interested. Sri Lanka have 2 reviews left. He's saying to his bowler, come on, you've got to be sure this time. The clock is ticking down, and no, they don't do it. Michael next to me, you're thinking this might be a bit closer than they think out there, but
I think it's going down quite a long way, I think.
Okay. 80 for 2. 2 reviews left for both sides. Here is Pereira bowling to Root. Root's right back, nudging this past a diving short leg fielder, Shado Fernando, and they go through for a single. They walk through. Bairstow walks through to the non-striker's end. Are we seeing the ball at the LBW shout? Yes, we are.
Didn't turn as much as I thought, but Dick Weller was going down the leg side to anticipate the turn. Actually, just skidded on a little bit. I think it was sliding down. I think the option for Pereira is to come around the wicket to Joe Root, bowl very, very straight, pitching on leg stump. Don't give him that sweep shot, because obviously if you can get it to straight and it brings the LBW in.
Pereira bowls to Bairstow. Bairstow clip drives into the onside, half stopped at mid-wicket. Misfield, and they're looking at 2 there, looking to pinch 2 inside the circle. The ball deflected off the new boy, Ramesh Mendes, had to chase it towards square leg. They decided, I think, very wisely against the second run there. The last thing you want the last 20 minutes of the day's play is a run out. Has he gloved that as well? I think he might have gloved it as well, the LBW shout. So that was saved him for 1. Pereira bowls to Root back, working it away. He's using that crease so skillfully, getting right back, rolling the wrists on it. It's so frustrating for the bowler and the fielding captain. Root goes to 53 with another single. 53 out of 83.
It's almost impossible for Pereira to get that LBW to Joe Root, because if he does, to get it to hit in line with the spin, it's very unlikely. So Joe Root is batting on off some. Johnny Bairstow's actually probably even further across on the offside. Bairstow
back, he's struck on the pads. A shout for LBW. They really want this, Sri Lanka. That's umpire close. Unmoved. Umpire Dharmasena says, no, don't fancy that. Right, onus is on Chandimal again and Dilruwan Pereira. He's right back into his stumps. And it hit him quite close in line, and they have gone for it with 3 seconds left. Now, what do we think here? Do we think umpire's call? Do we think drifting past leg stump? Or do we think hitting leg stump? That's the deal, I think.
That's normally the deal, isn't it? Most times, but
Bairstow missing the ball right back into it. Pitch just outside the off stump. It's fairly short. He went right back.
Okay.
Umpire's call on leg stump.
Close to the bat.
I think umpire's call here.
To confirm.
I'm going umpire's call on leg stump. It's definitely hitting the stumps.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a tight one. This is a tight one. Bairstow could be in trouble here, I think.
It's fine.
It feels as though it's going to be clipping. It's a question of whether it's hitting. Umpire not sure. He gave him the benefit of the doubt.
It's just going to clip, isn't it?
Roll it.
Has he hit it? No. Just checking that. I think this.
Okay, flat line when the ball passes.
I'd be a bit worried if this were me batting.
No bet. You can give me more tracking minutes ready, please.
Bairstow hoping for an umpire's call here, I think.
Okay, origination is not out. Pushing outside off, backed in line.
And he gets an umpire's call.
Yes. umpire's call. You can give me
He gets an umpire's call. Quite a bit of the ball is hitting, but not enough. So Sri Lanka do not lose a review, but they do not get a wicket. Bairstow survives on 23. Umpire Cook gets it right. Bang on.
Very tight, though, wasn't it? That's just very, very tight. I didn't think it'd be clipping. I thought it'd just be clipping the outside of the stump.
So it'd be shaving, did he?
I thought it'd just be shaving it, but actually it's canning into leg stump, isn't it? That is.
There's in quite a bit of it, yeah, but not enough of it to get the decision overturned. It seems strange, I think, people watching say, well, why is that not out? Because the ball's hitting the stumps, and quite a bit of the ball is hitting the stumps. You can see the frustration on Chandimal's face. The camera's focusing on him. Bends down in frustration. Bairstow drives firmly straight to Mendes, fielding it short mid-wicket, and there's no run.
So obviously Johnny Bairstow's batting on that off stump to try and to negate the LBW. If it does turn it to hit him in line, it's unlikely. The only danger of doing that, you've got to be aware of how square you're going to hit the ball. You know, it's too easy to, you can get a bit lazy there, and he was trying to hit that at square leg for the easy single. You've got to aim a little bit straighter and take a bit more of a low risk option, hit it a bit straight. If it does seem to squirt out a little bit, you get your single. There's a bit more higher percentage to aim straighter down the pitch when you're batting on like off stump, like you do with the ball turning in.
Yes, he would have felt quite a careless dismissal actually if it had been out. Sort of feel he should have hit it really, but
obviously the squarer you hit it, the less, you know, you're reducing your chance of hitting it because of the angles. You've got to be a lot more precise, so a bit more leeway if you're aiming a bit straighter.
Yeah. 83 for 2. We have 10 minutes cricket left in what's been an engrossing day, and a big 10 minutes here for England. Embal Denye is bowling, Root sweeping, surprise, surprise. And gets down low and hits it towards deep back with square leg, and not only hits it, gets 4. Missed the fielders out there in the deep, and Root goes to 57. What's been a real feature of his play today? Okay, sweep, we saw that in the last test match. He's been so aggressive against the spinners, not like trying to smash them all everywhere, but he tried to be positive the whole time.
And that puts the pressure back onto the bowler, and you know, he would never bowl a ball like that at the moment to Sibley or Crawley, because the pressures are so much on the England openers. You know, the way Joe Root has played, he's transferred the pressure back onto the bowler, so if he feels that, and that's why he's bowling worse, and that's only credit to the way, you know, Joe Root is playing.
87 for 2. Embal Denye bowls to Root. Root right back, blocking this one, pushing it towards short leg along the ground. He's asking Bairstow as well at the non-striker's end, where was I in my crease? I think so anyway, it looked like it. I don't know, he was asking the umpire, getting some help from Bairstow possibly about whether he lined that one up correctly. Embal Denye bowls, reverse sweep from Root, and he's nailed that one as well. He scatters the crows again. I mean, this is brilliant batting, it really is. I mean,
it is brilliant
fantastic
batting. I mean, I'm trying to think what Sri Lanka can do here to stop him scoring. Like, what tactics could you do could you bowl a bit more leg stump line with bringing, you know, another fielder across? It means that it gives him another free shot, the reverse sweep. Maybe the catch and cover could come across to leg stump, and you're to say just in front of square as well, so he hasn't got the easy single. That's like, and bowl really straight at him, just pitching on leg stump, but that will open up the little paddle sweep. So, you know, Joe Root's got everything under control.
And then he bowls to Root, is short outside the off stump, and he hits that off the back foot through the offside for 4, and he just put the pressure back on Embal Denye, and he's forced him to bowl a bad ball. He's hit him with 3 4s in the over, and he's on to 65. He won't want to come off at the close of play. He's playing that well. It really is superb batting. That was a bad ball, but you earn the bad ball by putting the pressure back on the bowler. That's exactly what Root has done there. Well, he's batting like a god out there.
And then just timed it away. Didn't try and do it too hard, just knew that a bit of timing and placement will get the 4.
On a pitch where the ball is offering something to the spinners, Joe Root is 65 not out from 74 balls, and he's not smashing it. He's just using all his skill to manipulate the spinners. Right, what's he come up with here? Embal Denye's put a man back on the deep cover boundary. 95 for 2. Embal Denye goes in and bowls to Root, and Root goes back and nudges that away with an open face down towards third man. Lakmal's after it, may well come back for 2 here. and it was a late adjustment. The ball spun, but Root was watching it carefully. Late adjustment, and it's allowed it almost to run off the face with a little tap into the offside for 2 more runs. So 14 runs already off Emil Denier's over. There'll be poor Dom Sibley watching. How's he doing this?
He does make it look. Batting the other end to Joe Root on so many occasions, how quickly he scores, and
Emil Denier bowls. Root comes forward, stabs it back down the pitch. No run.
How quickly he scores just makes it look so easy. Certainly against the seamers when he's in flowing as well. That back of a length ball, the seamer, he the full stump channel, how well he scores of them. And often I used to say 30 not out when he came in at number 4, and it wouldn't be long before he's flying past me without taking a risk. And it was incredibly frustrating, but that just shows how good he is. When he's on form and his movements are good and his rhythm. We talk a lot about Joe Root's rhythm of batting. When his rhythm's there, it must be a nightmare. He is a nightmare to bowl against, and he is definitely one of England's best batters we've ever produced.
He's asked for some more gloves just before close of play. Do you want to say something, Zol?
So to highlight the difference between this innings and the one in the first test, 67 from 76 with 10 fours today. He only hit 7 fours in his first 120 runs in the first test in 190 balls. We saw how he accumulated so skillfully against those defensive Sri Lankan fields, but he's been clinical in attack in this innings.
It's 97 for 2. Pereira bowls, and Bessa gets a long way across there. We saw all 3 stumps behind his legs there. Anyway, he got it down fine towards short fine leg. Not hitting that right out of the middle of the bat. It was under edge, scuffed it away on the onside. Moving right across Bairstow. Almost outside off stump. Well, he is outside off stump. He's taking guard there, and he's turning that away towards short fine leg. I just wonder whether leg slip might be a ploy here for Pereira, especially towards the close of play.
I think they've got the 45 in to try and get the top edge of a sweep. If they bring the leg slip in, that opens up almost a free hit of a sweep for once. I reckon that's why they've got the 45.
Pereira tries again, bowls to Bairstow. Bairstow's down the pitch this time, clubbing it back to the bowler. It's that really hard. He wrings his hand. Pereira. Is it worth gambling and saying, well, take that 45 man out and bring in the leg slip just before the close with 5 minutes left?
Yeah, and possibly bring deep back, could square up, leg up as well. So you kind of say, well, you can have a 4 if you want.
Yeah.
But you've got to take a risk, and if he does get a bit of bounce, it's definitely worth it for 5 minutes.
Pereira to Bairstow, batting way outside off stump. He turns that away into the hands of short leg on the bounce. Fernando is there. Charlie Fernando. A long time to sit in that pavilion watching others accumulate. Matthews and Dick Weller and Pereira after his naught and his return to the side yesterday. So what have we got now? It's coming up to 5 to 12. Time for at least one more after this. Bairstow bends at the knees. Pereira goes in and bowls. Bairstow goes back, brushes it into the onside, hits short leg and goes behind him. And Fernando has to chase it back. And they are through for a single. 98 for 2, England. They were 5 for 2. Replying to Sri Lanka's 381 all out. This has been a riveting partnership between Root and Bairstow. Bairstow playing second fiddle to Root's brilliance against spin. And now Root has got the balls left in the over to survive. I'm not sure the scoreboard on our TV is catching up. Root is forward, dabbing that into the offside. And there's no run, blocking the last ball, the over. Is it 97 for 2 or 98 for 2? I think it might be 98 for 2, but I think they've got into a tangle on their TV scoring system. And they've actually taken it off the screen now, probably to reboot it. So I'm going to go for 98 for 2, Alistair, with 1 or possibly 2 overs left in the day's play.
Well, I think Joe Root's just tactically called for some gloves and a towel to make sure it is the last one. I think Sri Lanka will be pleased if Johnny Bairstow on strike. For the left arm to bowl him in the last over, but as you said, it's been an absolute masterclass from Joe Root. And I think you've got to remember this partnership, as they walked out, they were 5 for 2.
Yep.
And under some serious pressure, you lose four wickets tonight, and it's a long way back in the game. But actually, 100 for 2, England are still right in it, and it's that pressure, isn't it? Subcontinent cricket, how can you withstand those periods where it is tough? Can you repel the opposition when on those little periods, and then it so quickly settles down here? You think that England are cruising the way these two are playing, but it's a big over for Johnny Bairstow.
Yes, it is, yeah. Could be the last over of the day. Embledenia bowls to Bairstow. Bairstow wants a single into the onside to get off strike. It's not there. Embledenia skips across. Root not interested. Embledenia with a smile on his face as he went to collect that. We saw that run out in the last test match between these two with a nudge. That one was into the offside, this one was into the on. Bairstow waits, bends at the knees. Embledenia goes in and bowls to him on leg stump, turning away from Bairstow. He covers the spin and then knocks it into the onside. Again, Embledenia is across to pick up. And there is no run. Ticking towards 12 o'clock. 4 balls left in the over. We're probably short, are we? Yeah, we are. We're 7 overs short at the moment in the day's play. This is Embledenia. Tiptoeing in, bowls to Bairstow, full outside the off stump, pushed away by Bairstow towards extra cover. Bairstow very much looks to be in playing for the close mode now.
Quite enjoying watching Joe Root pretending to back up.
Yeah.
But not really
not
backing
wanting
up
to
that
face.
much. No.
Not wanting to face again today, if you can possibly help it. And I think Bairstow probably was thinking the same thing off the first ball of the over as well, like a little nudge, and I might get up the other end. It's supposed to be a team game, chaps.
No, you don't mind your partner taking the over here, do you?
Not at all. No, you want him to take it. No, Bairstow's found some movement, I think, behind the bowler's arm. Yeah.
With no one in the crowd,
exactly.
He still managed to find someone.
Well, it wouldn't be cricket if there wasn't someone supposedly moving behind the bowler's arm. And Bairstow, well, he went to settle over his bat, then moved away again.
It's definitely going to be the last now, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. How many balls left in the air? I've lost count. Embledenia bowls. Bairstow struck on the pad. There's a big shout from Slip. And nothing from the bowler, nothing from Dick Weller. And if there's nothing from Dick Weller, then it cannot be out. 98 for 2. England 283 runs behind. Moving towards the close of play. Do we reckon this is the last ball of the over? 2 left. Embledenia bowls to Bairstow. Tossed up. Bairstow right over it, blocking back up the offside of the pitch. There is no run. It really was a flighted, just showing the replay. The ball before the shout for LBW, it's going down the leg side. Umpire Peli Garuga having none of it. Minimalist shake of the head. I think this could be the last ball then. Bairstow's forward, blocking it back up the onside of the pitch. What are the umpires going to do here? I think they've stepped forward to take the bails off, have they? We need a different shot on our television monitors.
Yeah, they've gone, I think.
Yep, there we go. We've just seen the clock they're going by on the ground. Well, a clock anyway. It's past 5:30 on theirs. Mine says bang on midday. So there we go. That was a really interesting final session with Root and Bairstow resisting to the close after England were 5 for 2. Then Embledenia taking out both openers again for the 3rd successive test match, for the 3rd game in a row, single scores for both of them. So Sri Lanka 3-8-1 at the close, England 98 for 2.